mean, Ehlmann didn't think that.
He also sent me Mark's voter guide. I'm like, if I'm a political consultant, I try to get him to endorse my opponent, right?
Yeah. What was I going to say?
No medical exam, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage.
I mean, Ehlmann got back in the race because they didn't think that Ehlmann could beat.
Right.
So it's his fault.
Pretty much. Like I was joking last night. I said, Steve, like this would have been Kevin Kleen's fault, right? He goes, I'm trying to keep Kleen employed for a few more years.
That's true.
But yeah, I thought that was pretty last night.
It was great.
At one point, I was texting Steve afterwards. He's like, "Was that just long and boring?" I'm like, "Not for me, it wasn't. You know, we had good conversations."
Yeah, there wasn't listening.
Well, he was. Tricia was, so
Yeah.
he might have been watching the Cardinals ticket. Sure.
This is 97 one I've been talking.
Did they play today or tonight?
Tonight,
Tonight again.
6 o'clock,
Ooh, thank you. Here? No, somewhere else.
New York.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're in the Yankees. And Jordan Walker is not in the lineup again.
Oh,
Yeah, he went out for a knee. You don't want to be careful on that, probably.
I feel bad about the Bucks.
Fred, I feel like we were just left last night, right?
We were.
It's kind of
You guys.
interesting. That's what happens on elections. Sue, how are you this
I did
afternoon?
great. How did it go last night?
I thought it went very well. I really did. And look, it's a little challenging when you start election coverage at 7, just because the numbers aren't really coming in. And they were a little bit slower locally than I thought, especially in St. Charles and St. Louis County. Although I guess by 9:30 we did have most of the results. We were keeping an eye on Michigan last night. I'm going to talk about that quite a bit. It was finally declared. And John Lampkin, who, by the way, is always great. John and I have spent so many times together. We're personal friends, but we do election night very often. There's not many election nights that John has not been on with me. And he's a great analyst. We just had fun last night and really, hopefully, help people understand what was happening with not only the amendments, but some of the races. And there were some surprises. And there were some things, certainly, that I predicted, unfortunately, that came true. But we're going to go through some of that here this afternoon. But I do want to thank John for spending the time. I mean, he's not under contract here, making a per diem and all this.
That's nice of him.
He's very nice to do that. Fred works his ass off behind the scenes and was here all night.
Oh,
And Matthew Rocchio last night was behind the scenes, making sure that things are good. And of course, Ethan and Daniel, who are also Daniel's filling in for Ethan today. And all the people behind the scenes, they make these things go a lot smoother. Mark did not leave angry last night about the production of the show, and sometimes that happens.
That's impressive.
No, we did fine. But let me kind of, as we start here, let me tell you, we're going to talk about what happened in Missouri. David Barklage, who is a roundtable, participant, he's become kind of a veteran on the roundtable. He's a GOP political strategist, but he also led the campaigns against 4 and 5. And David's a guy, and John was talking about this last night. Look, these guys, Sue, they're so good they can tell you where the votes are coming from in particular precincts, and that's how he knew that Ehlmann, who was holding more than 50%, total, was going to win the race. So they knew a little earlier than everyone else did, and probably they knew on Saturday because they do final polling and they kind of get a feel for this. So he's coming up. We'll have John Kraushaar, who will, kind of handicap what happened in Michigan and across the country. But let me kind of just run down as we get started here some of the things that happened last night and my thoughts about what did happen. And I've got a lot of interaction today on the socials about Amendment 5, which I'll get to in a second. But look, one way to look at this is there were 4 political careers that were ended last night, pretty significantly. And unfortunately, our friend Steve Butts is one of them. Now, my feeling about Steve is, you know what? He doesn't need the head. He didn't need this gig. He's doing it because he's a public servant. I think he's one of the only people that I know in politics that
Which is why it's a shame.
right doing it for that reason. He's just a great guy. Jane and I were texting him last night on the string. Jane says, "You're my hero." We love Steve, and I come from an era in politics. So to Steve, Fred, you might remember this. Look, when I first started covering politics in Missouri in the mid '80s, there was a guy that represented the then 9th district of Missouri. His name was Harold Volker, and he was a pro-gun, pro-choice Democrat. And you used to have those. Those were the blue dog Democrats, if you will, that helped get Reagan elected a couple of times as well. But you can't be pro-life, or you can't even be just moderately pro-life. He's a Catholic. He stood up for his beliefs, and Gina Minton used the abortion issue and just kind of plowed through the campaign and won big. Wasn't even close last night. But Steve, had term limited out on the House side. So, and he's kind of in retirement right now. He gets to spend time with his grandkids and his family. I think it's good for him overall.
And he'll have more time for the roundtable.
He will.
Oh,
He
true.
will. Cory Bush goes down. We thought that she
Yay.
might have a window. That wasn't even close. And maybe that should offer us a little bit of hope here on sanity. But she brings in Hassan Piker and is a DSA candidate, proud to be one. She's done. Okay, so let's say goodbye to Cory Bush. Bill Eigel is, I think, done as a politician. God bless you, Bill. You fought for a long time. Unfortunately, he just never really achieved anything. The promises that he wanted to make to the people of Missouri in any of the races, or when he was state senator, he was an obstructionist. That's fine. There are a lot of people that were rooting for him, but Steve Ehlmann won that race in St. Charles County relatively easy. I think a lot bigger margin than a lot of people expected. Look, that's when I got wrong. I thought Eigel was going to win that race. Unfortunately, I kind of knew that Steve Butts was going to lose. But, Bill's lost several now, and I don't know where he goes from here politically. I would say nowhere, because I think it's done. Okay, so we'll put the kibosh on that one. And then Brian Williams, and this is probably the biggest disappointment of the night. And I don't know Sarah Williams that well, but I did sit down with him several months ago, and I felt personally that he would make a really good St. Louis County executive. I don't know what happened, Sue. I mean, essentially, he decided to ignore the advice of a lot of experts out there. People have been doing this for decades, and he ran his own campaign, and he ran himself into the ground and got smoked by Jake Zimmerman. And, I could probably make a strong case that even Jake, certainly Dennis Hancock would be better as the Republican, but even Jake is going to be better than Sam Page. And Sam Page is just freaking awful, and he's an embarrassment. So I would hope that if Jake is the next county executive, that he doesn't just bend over and bend the knee to the progressives and the DSA candidates, and doesn't make that position about politics. Make that position about being an executive and running the county. Which, by the way, let's face it, Bill Eigel didn't want that job, right? He didn't want to do the work of a county executive in St. Charles County, and I think people kind of realized that in the end. So those are the four political careers that were probably ended last night. Let me talk about the amendments. Amendment 1. I don't really understand why anyone was opposed to this, but apparently even some of my colleagues were. Look, it's a 1/10 of 1% sales tax that's been in existence since 1984 for the park. I voted yes. It passed overwhelmingly. Wasn't even close. Amendment 4. I mentioned this yesterday. In the end, I voted against Amendment 4 because I thought it was too convoluted the way that they did it. And I hope to God, here's one thing I hope for my friends in the legislature. Now, this is going to be different when it comes to the income tax, and I'll get to that in a second. For the love of God, could we stop talking about this whole initiative petition thing? It's not working. The voters don't understand it. They don't trust you. They don't like what you're doing. So just stop, okay? Let's get on to some things that really matter for people. And I get the argument about the outside money and all that. But you know what? People still go to the polls and they make their decisions. And you can't look at Amendment 4 or 5, really, and you look at the margins. So I predicted these were going to go down nearly 3-1. Guess what they did?
Yeah.
It was almost 4-1. It was almost 4-1. So Amendment 4, what that was going to do is make sure that if someone tries to pass an initiative petition, a constitutional amendment, it has to reach a majority in all the congressional districts, right? Well, I think a better plan would be to move the margin to more than just 50% or 50+1, to move it to 53 or 55. Those ideas were on the table. They didn't go anywhere. All right, now on Amendment 5. I voted yes for Amendment 5 because I think, and I still think, that it was a great opportunity to redo the tax, structure in Missouri. I backed Governor Kehoe. He made that part of his campaign. I don't understand, when I talk to people around the country and you try to tell them, hey, we had the chance to keep more of our money in our paycheck.
Yep.
And by 80%, we voted it down. That happened because the proponents of Amendment 5 suck at selling it, completely suck at selling it. They didn't do a good job at all. And some of this is on the governor. The governor should have been talking about this a long time ago and ramping up the sales job. They cobble it together. It happens very quickly. The voters instantly are suspicious. And then the negative campaign worked. It just did. I mean,
Well, there was nothing up against it. Had they said, this is how we will get the money.
Yeah. Well, it was really poorly executed. And, here's what I do know. That issue is not going away. Okay. I can tell you that Rex Sinfield, I was with him the other night. He's still very passionate about getting rid of the income tax and the earnings tax in the city of St. Louis. So we'll have to see how the governor responds. But this was not a good night for Governor Kehoe. So I think you got to make sure that you're at least calling it the way you see it. And those were disasters. Now I'm getting this interaction that I'm getting on, Twitter today. Let me open this up, the Twitter X, because people keep lying about Amendment 5. And that's what's frustrating to me, because most of the opposition was completely based on false, claims by the opposite side. And the Republicans and the proponents didn't have a good response. The governor didn't have a good response. So there was someone that chimed in and said that, I voted against this because I'd like to eliminate income tax, but not at a 25% sales tax rate. Okay, that's part of the problem.
Yes.
There was and never will be a 25% sales tax rate. That's beyond stupid. It is beyond ridiculous. But again, this is what I did. Kudos to the opponents of Amendment 5 for lying about all that, because people believe it. And that's what they believe. You don't even have a sales tax rate, sales local and state combined, of in excess of 11.5%. So I don't think it's 25%. But those are the types of comments that I'm getting today on this. And it's unfortunate because, again, the opponents made the stick. They made it work, and it went down in flames. And I knew it was going to go down in flames. And the right was on the wall. That's why I predicted 3-1 defeat, and it's unfortunate. So we'll see how they can rebound. Now, on El Sayed, Michigan, that was my only prayer last night. I get home, Fred. I'm watching the CNN and the Fox coverage, and I'm saying, man, I hope El Sayed wins this race in Michigan, because as my role as a talk show host becomes a lot easier in the next few months. It's all about me, you guys. But this is a gift to the Republicans. It really is. This guy is trouble, but don't underestimate him in that race in Michigan. We're going to cover that this afternoon from a variety of perspectives, because he's slick, he's well-spoken, he's good-looking, he's likable. I mean, if you take the radical policies, and he's not necessarily DSA. He's kind of not the DSA, but he's still radical and hates Jews and thinks Hamas is okay, and sides with Hassan Piker that we're to blame for 9/11. Some of this stuff is so fringy, so out there. But look, you've got now, run some of this down. There's some really interesting coverage in Free Press today about Michigan and what happened there. And the Arab and Muslim population is huge, and they pushed El Sayed probably over the top. Haley Stevens was the established moderate candidate. And here's the thing about that race, too, is that the polling was way off. He had 8, 9, 10, 11, 12% leads in the polling. He won that race by 15,000 votes. 15,000 votes. So if you don't think your vote counts in these elections, we get example after example of this every cycle. Your vote counts. Hey, Fred.
On the roads this afternoon, we've already had a little bit of action out there. There was a stall westbound 70 at the Blanchette Bridge, and that has caused a little bit of a delay out there. In fact, it slowed back through 270. Then we had a stall reported westbound 6440 on the on-ramp from McKnight, and that has caused a little bit of a delay in that area. But it looks to me like it's an eastbound 64 jam. We've also got the exit ramp from eastbound 44 to southbound 270 blocked. And this is a tractor trailer that's hauling something that looks just large. So I can't tell whether that's the issue. And they've also got an incident on the shoulder through there. Now, those are the issues at this hour. Other than that, we're okay. Now, on the Illinois side, eastbound 64 is flowing 157 through 159. And eastbound, well, no, it's westbound. 5570 is slow approaching 111. That is due to road work. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic. 97.1 FM Fox, St. Louis Conservative.
We got David Barklage coming up. He was great last night with John and I on the political coverage, so he's going to kind of handicap what happened with the results. And then Josh Kraushaar from a national perspective at 3:30. We have Steve Ehlmann coming up in the next hour. He was the winner in St. Charles County. Duane Patterson from hotair.com will also join us this afternoon in the 5 o'clock hour. And then Dennis Hancock, who is the Republican nominee for St. Charles County Executive, is also going to be here. Sue, will you do me a big favor and tell Daniel that he's got to reset that commercial at the top because I did not press manual? That would help me a lot. Let me talk about Susan L. Ward. She's a family practice attorney. Read that, divorce attorney here in St. Louis. And what that means is she can help you with a very, very difficult time at the end of a marriage or things related to the end of a marriage. And she's good at it, and she's been doing it for a long time. Experience matters in a lot of things, maybe in everything. But in this particular case, it's really important because a lot of emotions are on the line. You have relationships with children, maybe even grandparents that are on the line. You need someone to guide you through that process, to make sure you don't make mistakes and do things that you're going to regret. I may have done things that I regret when I was going through this process, and I don't want you to make the same mistake. So call Susan, get with her as soon as you think there's an issue, 314-783-9400. Her website is great, too. It's got all kinds of information up there, even a great blog section where they talk about some of the changes to Missouri laws that could affect you and your case. So check them out today, stlfamilylaw.com, the focus on family law, and the emphasis on you, Susan L. Ward.
Call control for David. And Daniel says all the breaks this afternoon are pretty much 3-minute breaks.
How is that so different from last week? Oh, I know why. It's stupid political ads. That's why.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I need to know that. I need to tell him that it's important for me to know how long these breaks are because I
think
can't.
the next one is 3 minutes or 2 minutes, but then you've got a line and Sue's got a line.
Okay. All right. Well, it makes sense though. It's political ads.
Okay.
Jeez Louise.
Interested in that? Call me. 1 easy number, Missouri and Illinois. It's 314-293-2600.
Call me.
Spark and
Call me.
314-293-2600. God bless.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job, but then all you can
The next one's about 2.5 plus your
which is why
life.
you should try ZipRecruiter for free. That's
And then
ZipRecruiter.com/.
traffic.
ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you.
Did you hear that, Mark?
For you. It's powerful technology
Mark.
that identifies people with the right
Did
experience.
you hear that?
I can't hear anything. What?
The next break's 2:30 plus your life, so around 3.5.
Okay. Sorry, I'm checking some audio here.
It's remarkable that the people have spoken.
See why 5 employers who post a job in ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
ZipRecruiter. Martin Reardon is St. Louis conservative.
It's remarkable that people have spoken so overwhelmingly, so loudly, so clearly. Is the
Yeah, I hate it when someone proposes that keep more of your money at the paycheck. That's the worst thing ever. That's Scott Charton, who was part of the anti-4 and 5 campaign. I've known Scott for like 30 plus years. He used to be allegedly an unbiased reporter for the AT. I don't think that's even possible knowing what we know now. But he was one who lied about everything related to these amendments, and it worked. The opposition worked. I guess I have to give credit to my next guest, too, David Barklage, GOP political strategist. You were on with us last night, David. You were great. Thank you so much. But you were involved in the campaigns against 4 and 5, right? Why do you think they failed so miserably? And congratulations, because you had a part in this. But look, these were massive defeats. We see political campaigns, races. Look what happened in Michigan, 15,000. These 2 constitutional amendments were just completely demolished by the voters of Missouri. What? No, Michael, how did that happen and why?
Amendment 4 was an attempt by the legislature to reform.
So bad combination. Yeah, bad combination with those two. Okay, so do you think on the petition front, should that, I'm ready for that just to go away. Should it go away? Should they try to do something differently where they kind of raise, instead of just a simple majority, it's at a higher threshold? Or should it go away? Yeah, I don't agree with that. Yeah, yeah. Okay, I got on that one. All right, there's a way to fine tune that. Let me get to five. I want to talk about a couple other things here. You have people from around the country that I've spoken with, and when I tell them in the past weeks that this, effort to phase out income tax is going to fail miserably, they think we're crazy here. But obviously, that was also ill-conceived, and it wasn't promoted properly. And voters did not trust the lawmakers. But this is an overwhelming defeat even by Republicans. So you were careful last night. You're not flipping on Governor Kehoe, and I don't think Governor Kehoe is going to quit on the income tax. But when Scott Sharton says we hope it never returns, why is it, David, you played a role in this, that people think it's so bad, so terrible to keep more of their money?
And you're hearing this from a guy who has the was planned. One was enough.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yep, absolutely. Yep.
Transfer taxes and Hancock Amendment. And then you said for legislature, the same legislature that circumvented Hancock and put $1 billion in corporate welfare tax credits are waiting around the Hancock bid. So they put in 2,000 exemptions currently in their taxes. And how they get there, especially if there's a legislature. And so now we're telling people we're going to spend all these things. We're going to take your right to redress through the petition. And we're going to pick the winners and losers. And
No, I know. Okay, we definitely tax marijuana. That's something that we definitely tax, by the way. But okay, you can look at those things, and I'll be very curious to see how Governor Kehoe reacts. But quickly, because you're involved in St. Charles County, the surprise in St. Charles County with that race, I think you're working for Steve Ehlmann, is that Bill Iden didn't even make it close. A lot of us were predicting that he would be the winner. So what's your breakdown of what happened in St. Charles County? Steve Ehlmann, the incumbent, wins that pretty easily.
because I will support that. So Steve Steve Ehlmann, it came down to where Bill Eigel, like a lot of charismatic populist politicians, when you are far away from your community, as you remember the old adage, people love their congressmen but hate Congress. They love it like, because I really could. Control that part. Steve Ehlmann. That Steve Ehlmann should be reelected when Steve, over the last 20 years, literally has been the face and the soul and the heart of Charles Jennings in that regard. Your regional leader, as you know, are called out where the King Aspen Club, where the Kershaw Town. Every day,
Can't right.
knew what he done, and when you get the record out there in front of
Yeah, absolutely. All right, hey, Mark, thank you so much for last night. You were very valuable in our coverage with John Lappy. Thanks for this afternoon, and congratulations because you won a few last night. So good job, and we'll talk soon. All right, we'll see you.
Well, the ramp from eastbound 44 to southbound 270 is closed, and we do have a tow truck on the scene. It looks like a tractor trailer that's carrying a load may have shifted, but it's this. I'll put it up on X. You could just look at it. But they have the ramp closed in the meantime, so that of course is creating a slow go in that area. And eastbound 6440, there's an accident near Mason that's causing a delay. We had a stall westbound 70 at the Blanchette Bridge, so a slow go there. And if you're headed into Illinois, we are fine on the bridges, just a little bit slow, 64 at the 70 split. And eastbound 64 is pretty slow, 157 through 159. And that is due to road work. This report brought to you by Barron Mirror Glass and Door. Congratulations to them. It's their 50-year anniversary. And you don't stay in business that long by not supplying quality products with outstanding service. The key, their experienced staff. Contact Barron Mirror Glass and Door today and let them show you why 50 years is just a start. I'm Sue Thomas with Traffic 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
You know, we had another great segment last night with George Rosenthal from ThrottleNet. We do Tech Talk Tuesdays. George is someone that can scare the crap out of you because we talk about AI and some of the other things that happen with companies and data breaches. But the great news for you as a business owner is he can really help you protect your business. And what he'll tell you is you don't know exactly where you stand until you find your baseline. And what they're offering you, and it's very simple, if you go to throttlenet.com/971, that gives you a free baseline security audit. And then you can take it from there with the team at ThrottleNet, but that's a really good way of assessing your real world risk because you have risk. There's no doubt about it. And instead of confusing reports, what this will do from ThrottleNet is give you a simple risk score. It shows you where you're strong and where your gaps exist. So it's a very practical way to understand your risk without guesswork. And then ThrottleNet, as a great company that helps companies here in St. Louis, really defend against attacks and making sure you're not making the wrong clicks. They'll take it from there. And they do a great job here in St. Louis. If you hear George, you know how passionate and knowledgeable he is. If you need their help, go to throttlenet.com/971 today.
Old vinyl windows with more vinyl.
Call control.
Fred here. Call control.
Man, I couldn't get Barklage to shut up. What should I play here? Should I play?
The team at Lakeside renovated.
Is there an El Sayed from today?
Up aggressive lane, materializing.
I really think it was offensive though. I was saying, you gotta say my name right. Number 4.
Absolutely. But it's not
El Sayed. Those are
use my whole name against me. Mike, listen, man, if you can't say the name, it's Abdurrahman, keep the name out your damn mouth.
You get a short break on this next one.
Okay.
And then there's a live, but it should be pretty quick.
They think they want to use my whole name against me. Mike, listen, man, if you can't say the name, it's Abdurrahman, keep the name out your damn mouth.
What is it? I don't even know what it is.
Just said the quick
I'll be happy to give you lessons.
I know. That
World.
seems scary. I know.
I don't like.
They want us to think that the reason some of us ain't got
I'm
is
glad
because
that
other people got.
I'm just gonna.
But it turns out that the reason so many of us ain't got is because of the system that has corrupted our politics to take it away from us. And that is the thing that my hope is that our democracy will never be the same.
Okay, that's a good one. I like the other one too, but I want to play this as like an open bite.
Okay.
Just on the music is what I mean.
Yeah.
2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Steve Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
You've been listening to the very popular Wellness One for many years, Saturdays and Sundays on 97.1 FM Talk. We're happy to share that we've expanded the show to 4 times a week. Yes, 4 times every weekend. Saturday at 10 a.m., Saturday at 8 p.m., Sunday at 9 a.m., and Sunday at 2 p.m. It's the same great show designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you a common sense, science-based strategy for a healthy life. So join TJ and Aaron for Wellness One. Now, 4 times a week on 97.1 FM Talk.
It's time for a $98 AC.
And this portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly, heating, air conditioning, electrical, and plumbing.
Still celebrating? Yes, we are. America 250 on 97.1 FM Talk is sponsored by Paramount Men's Medical Center.
My hope is that our democracy will never be the same. So when Big Pharma
Big victory, but a very small margin from Abdul El Sayed in Michigan. They didn't call that race until this morning. Josh Kraushaar, 97.1 FM Talk political insider, the editor-in-chief of the Jewish Insider, is with us. The polling showed that that was not going to be as close, but it did kind of come down to the wire, didn't it, Josh?
The polling these days can be very unpredictable and not very reliable. But yeah, it did reflect the divides within the Democratic Party, and those divides even were the
Well, I'm not sure. I don't. Did I? That might be something that I did actually.
Yeah.
Because it sounded like I just hung up on it and dropped the call, didn't I?
Yeah, it sounded that
Yeah,
way.
I'm sorry about that. He's gonna have-
Did you hear
Fred,
that?
Fred is going to get. This is again
Daniel's
one of those
working on it.
situations where I'm disadvantaged because I don't have line of sight with the producers, so I never know
He's on it.
if they know. Yeah, that was. I think that was Mark's fat thumb hitting the drop button, which is not good. And if I had locked Josh in properly into the phone line, I don't think that would happen. So we'll get it back on because I want his thoughts about El Sayed and everything that happened in Michigan. They are flying right now. You're telling me they're dialing him. I don't see anything kind of.
Yep.
We're working on my phone line right now.
Hold on, he's got it.
I don't want to go. I can
Hold
start
on.
talking about other
Okay.
things.
No.
Josh, I think that was my fault. I'm sorry about that. I think I just pressed the wrong button. So, El Sayed, go. Is it a mistake, however, I make all mistakes when it comes to political predictions. I got a few right here at Missouri last night, Josh. We can talk about that in a second. But I remember thinking, man, who's going to elect somebody named Barack Hussein Obama, right? And with this guy in Michigan, huge Muslim population, is it a mistake for talk show hosts people like me and Republican lawmakers and people in the party to think that El Sayed is just a gift? Yeah.
When he had to deal with the question of his very anti-American preacher.
Reverend Mike. Yeah. Well, I know what happened. The legacy media just completely ignored it. Guys like me kept playing sound bites from him all over and over again. So, and Rush Limbaugh did too, but the legacy didn't want to touch it. That's what happened there. Right. Yeah. Yeah, right. So these are excellent points. Yes, these are excellent points. But so then how if we know that these people, Republicans, Democrats, they run to the radical side from the primaries. How does he walk away from that in the general? I don't know how you can unless once again the media just gives him a pass on this.
That's like you receive it. I mean, look, the way that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, I know. Well, and there should be. Do you have any reactions from across the country? We didn't know if Cori Bush might be able to mount, a serious attack against Wesley Bell. In the end, it wasn't. He won by a big margin. So here in St. Louis, our DSA candidate went down. But again, she had Biker come in. But really, nobody else, came in for her. She didn't have the money. So she's done, I think, politically. I can say. But did you make any other observations from across the country in some of these races? Yeah, right. Yeah, that's so. Why, I don't know who it was. I was over here last night and I was watching CNN, and somebody made that point about the ESA candidates and African Americans not really like it. Is there a theory on that?
That'll clearly extreme anti. The bills, it need to make sense, understand the bills.
How much money are they going to spend in this race in Michigan? I mean, tens and tens of dollars. They spent $7 million just on that race, right? Oh yeah. Oh, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to watch cover, right? For guys like you and I, really interesting. Josh, thank you so much. Appreciate it. How'd you guys do at the trade deadline, by the way? Yeah, yeah. Well, like the Brewers fans feel like we fleeced them for these prospects. This one kid who's 18 years old is really, really good. So we feel pretty good. And it's a rebuild. Unfortunately, Jordan Walker has a knee issue right now. It's not in the lineup again. But I know that the fans here know we're in the rebuild, Josh. So we're educated that way. But thanks for coming on the stuff. I really appreciate it. All right, take care. He's a big Nationals fan. We talk baseball a lot. He's a fantasy baseball guy too, which is even too complicated for me.
There is an accident on eastbound 6440 Mason. And they've got the two right lanes blocked. I just put it up on X at Susan6768. And we've got a jam that goes back through 141. Now, originally, I was going to post the problem. We had a stalled tractor trailer carrying a load and it was shifting. And they had the ramp from eastbound 44 to southbound 270. It's reopened. Everything is fine now at 44 and 270. Now, there is some volume on southbound 270, 64 down through Doherty Ferry, and westbound 40 lines up approaching Hampton out through McCausland, slowing again out at Prospect. 70 westbound looks okay. 370 is jammed headed for the river. And southbound 55, we've got an accident reported, and this one is south of Butler Hill. So some volume through there. Quiet on the bridges. But on the Illinois side, the usual jam due to road work, eastbound 64, 157 through 159. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Can't get it out 97.1? Follow us on social. X, Instagram at 97.1 FM Talk, and YouTube at 97.1 FM Talk, STL 97.1.
Well, we have, I think Bob Kershaw is going to swing by in the next hour to talk about our seminar next Tuesday on how to create a worry-free retirement. We're at that point again where I can't believe this. This is the 4th seminar out of 5 of the year. We would love to see that. They're free events. All you have to do is save a spot. And the way you do that is either by going to retirementkey.com or calling the office. They're probably there this afternoon, 314-993-9494. The market's been kind of on fire at least a couple of days this week. How do you lock in the gains that you're getting from the market and still have enough money to live on and worry-free retirement is ahead of you? That's what this whole thing is all about. And they'd love to speak with you in a group setting next week. It's really not a big time commitment, about an hour from the start to finish. I mean, when you sit down, I get there about 6:15. Mark and Annie and I meet and greet. And then Bob will take over with Tammy and just sort of do the pitch. Maybe it's not for you. Maybe it's something you're not comfortable with, but you won't know unless you're there. And again, it's free. We just need to save a spot. You can always go in one-on-one, but to reserve a spot for next week at the DoubleTree by Hilton Hotel in Chesterfield, right off of Swingley Ridge Road at 6:30, call 993-9494, online, retirementkey.com.
Hey, Mark, I just told Daniel, I got a text that said that our mics are live during the break on the YouTube stream, so watch out. So he's trying to fix it.
Are you
kidding
kidding me?
Watch out. Tell Mark to watch out.
How is that possible? News on a Wednesday afternoon. He's taking a few days off, so he will be here until next week. He was sending us some pictures. He's in Boston, Massachusetts, and is touring that area. There's just so much history out there. You know, it's been a while since I've been to Boston, but I really want to do, and I've talked about this before, like a Revolutionary War and Civil War type of tour that I've never done before.
Yeah.
So I'm fascinated, obviously, by those particular parts of U.S. history, and I think I mentioned this before. Really want to do that with Alexa, and Boston's just a fantastic city.
It is.
I wish I would go there more often.
They're not long after.
If you listen to Tim Fitch, and Chief Fitch was on with us for just a little bit last night when John Lapping and I were doing the coverage, and he said this on the roundtable recently too. One of the things that he suggested that Republicans do in St. Louis County was pull a Democrat ballot and vote for Jay because he felt, and maybe there's polling that indicates this, that for Dennis, it would be easier to defeat Jake Zimmerman. If you've got a young, really good-looking African-American candidate, that might be a little hard in St. Louis County. So does he have a better chance? My take, just because I've been so close to this over the years with Republicans like, Bill Corrigan and Rick String coming close, I don't think a Republican can win in St. Louis County. But, you've got to
move there.
Well, you have to. That's right. You can make a difference. But look, if you don't have, you just can't hand the race to Jake Zimmerman. So let's see what Dennis is all about. He knows how to run things. He was the mayor of Fenton. He's more than competent. I think that I said this last night. I hope I'm right about this too. I think that even if Jake Zimmerman is the next St. Louis County executive, it has got to be an upgrade from Sam Page. It's just the worst. I mean,
Oscar Bulldog would be an upgrade.
I almost feel bad. Some people might remember, and I was on Camwitz at the time, but I really kind of made fun a lot of Charlie Dooley. Charlie Dooley, the former St. Louis County executive, he's like the nicest guy on the planet, right? Really nice.
Yeah.
But he really wasn't competent enough to run St. Louis County government. He's the kind of guy that I said he should be running a charity or something like that, right? But my God, I've actually, in the last couple of days, I felt bad about making fun of Charlie Dooley back in the day, because I think I would long for the days of someone like Charlie Dooley, even with his nonsense, being in there, because now we're taking it to another level. This is why I thought that Brian Williams may be different. I think he would have been micro-focused on the county. I hope that Jake is focused on the county, the issues facing voters that shouldn't be partisan, right? But if he's going to make it about abortion and, the TSA and all this other stuff, I'm not interested in that, right? And I don't think most people are interested in that. What Senator Williams did last night, though, was a massive failure. I mean, people are telling me that he decided to ignore advice and run his own campaign. That was just devastating, because, Sue, just to put this in perspective, you go back a year ago, 8 months ago, 6 months ago, I'd even say 3 months ago, the amount of people that would tell me that Brian Williams is going to be the next county executive, not that he might be, that he will be the next county executive. A bunch of people felt that way. That did not happen.
Well, on roads, we've got some volume. Westbound 370 as you head toward 141. 70 westbound looks pretty good. It's a little slow at 10. 64, it's Kings Highway out through McCausland. Eastbound is still jamming near Mason, and that's due to an accident in the right lanes. And then traffic westbound lines up Lake St. Louis Boulevard. Now we're fine on the Poplar, a little bit slow eastbound coming off of the bridge. And eastbound 64 is still slow, 157 through 159. Westbound 5570 through 255 to 111. That is road work. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic 97.1 at that top St. Louis Conservative.
You're still flirting, real good. You've still got it. The your immune system weakens this, making it harder to fight illnesses like pneumococcal pneumonia and RSV. Vaccines are key to any country and can help protect you from getting really sick. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. See more at PfizerForAll.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
This is the story of the one who keeps multiple buildings running smoothly day after day. Plumbing that flows, HVAC that hums, cleaning supplies that keep surfaces sparkling. That's why she counts on Granger. With easy reordering online and 24/7 support, Granger helps her keep the products she needs on hand. So sales stay stocked and buildings stay ready. Call 1-800-GRANGER, click Granger.com, or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
License number GL2500025.
You're cooking dinner. The lights go out. You flip the breaker, forget about it.
But what if it keeps tripping?
Trips once. Your breaker's being it down. Keeps tripping. That's a warning. Bad wiring, or something worse.
Do people just keep flipping it?
Most do, until they can't.
Call Miracle. We'll stop the trip.
It's all with Kraushaar at Kraushaar Home Services.
I'm Dr. Nick Barnes at Health From Within and the Chiropractic in Rock Hill. At Health From Within, our mission is to transform the way you manage your health and bringing the truth about health and healing. We use proven techniques to remove interference in the nervous system and maximize health naturally without drugs or surgery. Connect with me at healthfromwithin.com and join me for Maximize Living on this station every Sunday at 8 a.m. or download the Maximize Living podcast, healthfromwithinstl.com.
According to MasterCard, nearly half of small businesses have been a victim of cyber attack. As cybercrime escalates, Robert is calling on businesses to strengthen their security posture by taking a free online IT security audit right from your desk. This 3-minute online assessment provides an immediate score to see security gaps and vulnerabilities in your network. For 26 years, ThrottleNet has supported your business IT everything right here in St. Louis. In fact, no plan that ThrottleNet has ever paid a ransom. So visit ThrottleNet.com/971 to take the free assessment today.
This is a special place, but not by accident. Learn our backstory. Celebrating 71 FM Talk.
A Wednesday edition of Sue's News is on deck.
FM from the Conflict Counseling St. Louis Lawyers Studio. Call 314-777-7777.
That's 314-777-7777.
A third straight record month on Carmen on Fox News. And it was hoped about reopening the strait is what lifted it down for another close this week. The blue chip index gained 263 points to close at a record 54,349. And we're getting the strait open. President Trump says a deal may happen today or tomorrow.
If they back in again, they're going to be hit really hard. They know that. They understand that.
Iran Foreign Minister Deputy says that Iran and Oman are close to making a deal to divide and manage the strait. However, that would not take it back to being free and open the way it was before the war. Loftus candidate Dr. Abdul El defeats Haley primary open West Tennessee. Al Sayed says the race is about
absolutely deserve the best of what America has to offer. The recast of El Sayed's strength in a divided party will now come in November's matchup against President Trump-backed Republican Mike Rogers. El Sayed is backed by the UAW and by prominent Democrat socialists like Bernie Sanders, though he distanced himself from that wing of the party. Jeff Benosto, Fox News.
Second Russia. Florida Attorney General James Altmaier is announcing that the state issued a subpoena to Dr. Anthony Fauci requesting a range of documents about the pandemic, including his personal dealings. Altmaier tells Fox News that it is a matter of getting that information before.
Evidence has come to light that he was trying to personally profit off of this. This is outside of his government duties, his official role. He's trying to pursue book deals.
America's listening to Fox News.
When I hit my 50s, I felt like things were slowing down.
This is Sandra's Metamucil story.
I started taking Metamucil for digestion, but had no idea it would impact so much more. Not only did Metamucil help me feel more regular, but my heart health saw the benefits too.
Metamucil, one simple routine, 4 health benefits. Digestive health starts here. Go to metamucil.com for more details.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exam, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I'm grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ethos.com/term. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
We've had a couple of quiet days, but we're back into a typical summertime unsettled weather pattern. Cloudy skies dominate this evening and overnight with scattered showers and thunderstorms around. The focus really late tonight, 72. Thursday, partly sunny and scattered showers and thunderstorms. 85, scattered showers and thunderstorms Thursday night and still into Friday. Friday, 88. The weekend is dry. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Mark.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
This is one of those days where I just get very frustrated with the interaction with social media. And most of my interaction has been about Amendment 5 because, and I'll blame Republicans and you can blame the governor, blame people like me, but people just simply do not have any comprehension of what they voted for. I'm convinced of that because everyone's tossing stuff at me on the externally Twitter that this simply isn't true, and by the way, like, someone here, I'll quote this one because all you had to do in some cases is just read the ballot issue. But the income tax was never going to just go away magically. Okay, just so you know, it was going to be phased out. And in order for it to be phased out, there were going to be triggers that have to be met, right? Now that gets complicated. It gets in the weeds. Most people don't even know what that means, right? But suppose this was the situation. I'll just give you an example. And this is one of the reasons that I support this. And by the way, the other thing people are saying is, oh,
you know what, we're not, Nashville and Florida and Alaska because we don't have all this tourism. I don't care about any of that. What I care about is keeping more of my money. And there are offsets to help us do this if we face the income tax. And by the way, here's something else you can do. This is crazy. It's nutty, but you can stop spending as much money as you spend too. I know that that's radical, but you can do that. But there's, literally all these people out there that have no idea what this thing would even do. So I'm concerned about that because the misinformation, the lies really worked. And I just don't know what to say. If they're going to do a campaign like this again, it's probably going to work because people are not going to educate themselves as much as they need to be, and they're going to play into the scare tactics, and all this stuff kind of played out on Facebook. But it failed. I knew it was going to fail, and I just hope that we can do this again. Why would there be fear of pitching a proposal to get rid of the income tax and have people, keep more of their money? I swear, I hope people, whether your payday is this Friday or next Friday, look at your damn paycheck, okay? If you're a working Missourian, look at your paycheck, look at the federal income tax, look at the state income tax, and say to yourself, man, couple $100 in this check, couple $100 in the next check, that's $400 that I have. If I have to pay $1 extra for a haircut, I think I might be okay with that, right? If I have to pay, let's say out of that $400 that I have to pay $100 in sales tax, which, by the way, I don't think that would happen. Well, let's say, for argument's sake, you have $400 in your pocket, but you have to pay $100 more in sales tax a month. I'm not good at math, but that still seems like you might be ahead $300, right? I don't know. Not very good at math. People weren't thinking about that. You have pensions that are taxed and you're paying income tax. So a lot of this stuff just got so out of control, and the retorts and the answers weren't there, and that's why it failed. And I'm just frustrated because I continue to find people, and these are Republicans, I think a lot of them are, that really had no comprehension of how this thing would work in the long run anyway. All right, I think I might have referred to this the other day, but I want to revisit it here because I think that Clay Travis, who's out there with Outkick, is always doing things that are kind of interesting when it comes to his challenges. And he's got a $10 million challenge that he has offered the WNBA.
If they are going to allow men to play, I think we should have an actual game, not NBA players against WNBA players, high school boys. Let me pick a team. I will put it on pay-per-view. We'll donate all the profits to Tunnel to Towers for Wounded Warriors. If the high school boys win, I will give them $10 million. If the WNBA team wins, I will give them $10 million. I think we would raise tens of millions of dollars for charity, and I'm putting my money where my mouth is.
I love it.
If the WNBA really doesn't believe that men are that much better than women at basketball, then the champion of the WNBA should be able to beat a bunch of high school boys. So far, they haven't responded. They always talk about how they want more money. This is more money for one basketball game than has ever been paid to win in the history of the sport.
Oh, I love it. And no one's going to take him up on that. Nope. But he makes offers like that all the time. And, there's science behind it because we've seen the women's national soccer team. We have examples of this in Australia and other countries as well. Look, they train against men. WNBA teams and college basketball teams, they train against because men are better, and it's going to make them better, right?
Yep, that's it.
So the Clay Travis, I don't know who this person is in Minneapolis, a progressive news anchor who responds this way.
One last thing tonight. The entire world of women's sports is facing the debate within its own leagues of who should get to play and who should not. And a voice that often shouts loudly in that debate is a right-leaning outlet owned by Fox News called Outkick Sports. And today its founder took to a new stunt, one that really makes no sense if Outkick is really concerned about caring about women and women's sports.
Of course it makes sense. And you just don't want to see the fact that it does make sense, because how embarrassing would that be for the WNBA or another league to get smoked by a bunch of 16-year-old boys? And it's likely to happen because it's happened in other sports.
So Clay Travis, he's the man behind Outkick. He announced today he's offering $10 million to the winner of a game of basketball between a high school boys team of his choosing and the WNBA defending champions, the Las Vegas Aces. I thought to myself, why? But obviously the answer is because he thinks it is so impossible for any group of women, let alone the best in the game, that they could ever beat younger and more inexperienced boys.
That's an interesting spin. We'll get back to that in a second.
It's a thinly veiled sexist joke, revealing the actual truth of how he and his organization feel about women's sports. It's not about caring about them. They think women's sports are a joke.
No.
Good night.
We think, well, I think the WNBA kind of is a joke, but
Yes.
what I think is that women, this is crazy too. This is another radical position. I think women should be playing women's sports, right? And so does Clay Travis. Now, who is this person who is the coach for the Indiana Fever?
Which again is why Title IX exists.
Exactly.
This is the entire reason it exists.
All right, so I'm a little disappointed. And by the way, Sophie Cunningham's out there saying, look, I want to get back to basketball because she's getting so much attention. But Stephanie White is the head coach of the Indiana Fever. And some people are ripping on Caitlin Clark because she's not being courageous here. I think there's a little bit of that in me, too. I think she could probably be more courageous and take a stand. But this is Sophie's lane right now, and Caitlin wants to play basketball, so that's fine. But I'm not going to give that leeway to the head coach of the Indiana Fever because listen to the way that she answers this question. It's utterly ridiculous. And all these coaches, I mean, all of these WNBA coaches apparently are on the same page. Even Sophie Cunningham's coach, the way that, this answer comes out.
What's your stance? What is your stance on men or athletes who test as biological male participating in women's sports? What's your personal stance?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I would say that I'm educated enough from a scientific standpoint.
Wait, what? You're not educated enough to know whether a man with a penis would be stronger than a woman? What's the education that you need here?
I don't ever believe that exclusion is an answer. I just don't. I do think, when we think about various levels of sport, various governing bodies of sport and things that go into that. Like I said, I'm not educated enough at the different levels. I know growing up, I played with the boys all the time.
This is a fundamental misunderstanding. Okay, did you play with girls who said they were boys? That's the issue. It's not that you played with boys. It's that you are competing against girls and other women. And your whole sport, the WNBA, is based on that.
Yes.
And you don't understand the question or the biology, or you're not an expert enough. That's just completely being a wimp and lazy and intellectually dishonest.
There were girl sports.
Would you welcome a biological male in WNBA?
Again, it's like I don't know.
What?
When we talk about biological male and scientifically where we are, I think it's a totally different scenario.
Oh my God!
As I said, I'm not educated enough in terms of transgender and transitioning to give you a smart answer.
Oh, well, obviously.
Are you kidding
that's
me?
becoming very apparent that you can't give a smart answer. You can just kind of look at the basics of biology. I'm pretty sure that you learned some of those in school.
I would say, though, that I just don't feel like exclusion is an answer, and I think that we need to have deeper, more layered conversations.
And you'd be okay with them in the locker room?
Yeah. Is there any frustration? Because
See, she didn't answer that one.
fantastic run that this is distracting from that?
There is a frustration, of course. Because
I don't care about that. It's ridiculous that she said what she did. And, all the media's in there trying to gin up support for the trans. But she didn't answer that question. Would you be okay facing an opponent that has a male on their team? Who's been good on this, and he can be a little crazy sometimes, Stephen A. Smith.
Nobody said you can't transition from male to female. The issue here is competing against the women.
Thank you.
That's what Sophie Cunningham was talking about. That's what Riley Gaines is talking about. How are you, Coach Cheryl Reeve, and you could condone that?
Yeah. How could you not understand? That's what's ridiculous
she
here.
understands.
Well, and so what is that?
Playing
being
dumb.
a coward.
Yes.
She's a
No
coward.
spine.
We got to stop acting like somebody that's speaking up on behalf of girls, like a Sophie Cunningham, like a Riley Gaines, are scourges of the earth. That is an irresponsible thing to do. You are a coach for a female basketball team.
Thank you, Stephen A. Smith. By the way, here's something interesting. I meant to send Jen Say a text about this. So Jen's been a guest for several years, right? Fred, we've got a great relationship with her. She runs XXXY Athletics. She was a champion gymnast. She was the CEO of Levi's, right? And when she created XXXY, it was around this topic of allowing girls to compete against girls and little girls to not be disadvantaged by men. So I wear you guys know this because you see it sometimes, but my wife and I both wear a fair amount of XXXY gear. And I don't even know that I'm doing it to make a point as much as I really like the quality of the clothes, and the hats are awesome. But I have not had a lot of reaction to those. But let me tell you, in the last 3 days, my wife's had a reaction to it. Really? Well, now people know what it is because they've seen the signs with Sophie Cunningham, and they've seen Jen and Riley in these pictures, and all of a sudden, so my wife works out of one of our local libraries because, she works out of the house, and I kick her out of the house, basically. And I believe there were Alphabet Mafia folks who did not like the fact that she was supporting women in women's sports. So I'm going to be wearing my XXXY gear even more often now.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Westbound 6440, a slow go. It's Kings Highway out past McCausland. Eastbound is slowing just pockets, Lindbergh through Big Bend. And that's kind of jamming up southbound 170. 70 westbound slow at Highway K and at Wentzville. 64 out west is jams up as you approach Lake St. Louis Boulevard, and it's also slow Kings Highway out through McCausland. Now, on the Illinois side, 5570 westbound, slow 255 to 111, and eastbound is slowing 157 through 159. That all due to road work. Oh, and southbound 270, slow pocket 6440 down through 21. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Fred, a little depressing, but I'm going to pass along because Ethan's not here. Shohei Ohtani and Pete Crow Armstrong put on a show at Wrigley Field today. 6 for 10, 1 double, 4 home runs, 4 runs, 7 RBIs. The Cubs are leading the Dodgers 7-6 in the 8th inning. That's a crazy game, right? Yeah, look at that. Great. Sue's News coming up.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/radio right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
42% of Missouri fourth graders can barely read. 42%. It's the worst result in 20 years. If kids can't read by third grade, they fall behind in school, and many never catch up. But other states have provided a roadmap for success. Missouri needs one universal reading test for all third graders and one clear statewide standard for what it means to pass that test. A struggling reader who still can't read after extra help and a second chance at the test should repeat third grade with some exemptions. We also need to end the outdated 3Qing method, which encourages guessing instead of reading, and require teachers to be trained in the science of reading. In Mississippi and Indiana, test scores jumped up dramatically after these reforms, and Missouri can do the same. Missouri children deserve to become confident, capable readers, and strong early literacy reforms can make it happen. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by the Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm in the air conditioning business. I don't advertise that much. I was leaving a customer's home and I was out in Illinois, and then as I was driving away, my fan for my air conditioner went out. I had to cross back over into St. Louis where there was bridge construction, so massive rush hour, backed up traffic, windows down, sweating. I had to take it straight to the dealership to drop it off because there's no way I can function, much less work, without air conditioning in my truck. And I'm the same way in my house, and every homeowner, not every homeowner, but most homeowners are the exact same way. So if you're experiencing difficulties with your air conditioner, meaning you have none, call me, Bart Ehlmann, and it's one easy number, Missouri and Illinois, 314-293-2600. Again, Bart Ehlmann, 314-293-2600, Missouri and Illinois. Call me. God bless.
When it comes to family law, a lot has changed in recent years, so assumptions can be costly. If you see or sense a change coming in your family life that could have legal implications, it's important to know where you stand. Getting good legal advice early is never a bad idea. I'm Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell. If you or anyone you know is facing a family law issue, start with a consultation. Visit CordellCordell.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. 600 Kelwood, St. Louis.
Lemonade! Fresh squeezed lemonade! Lemonade? Oh, nuts.
Is your business struggling to be seen? Not reaching the right customers?
Yeah.
Odyssey's here to help. Your one-stop shop for digital marketing.
Wait, really?
With targeted digital media, plus SEO, SEM, social, OTT, and more, we help your business reach the right audience and drive results.
Whoa, hey, one at a time.
Stop missing out on valuable customers. Visit digitallocalads.com to learn more about our local advertising solutions. That's digitallocalads.com.
Okay, people, line starts here.
This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Oh my God. You guys just keep me off of X today. I think that's what I'm going to ask you to do, because some of the people chiming in on the failure of the amendments have zero clue what they're talking about. But let's do this.
These allegations are deeply concerning.
Does the president have any comment?
We're not going to comment.
It's not clear messaging.
No.
And now, Sue's News. Brought to you by Sue.
Well, happy National Work Like a Dog Day, and I think that's probably, well, Mark, you worked yesterday.
Hey, look,
yeah.
I worked like 7 hours total yesterday. That's pushing the limit for the week.
Fred, how much did you work yesterday?
I got here at 7 a.m. and I left at 10 p.m.
Fred's here to the end.
Yes, Fred.
Very loyal.
It's also National Underwear Day. Hope we're all happy about that. And
I will confirm that I'm wearing some.
Oh, that's good.
As far as I will
feel
go.
good about that.
Yeah.
And it's National Oyster Day. And our own young Ethan is in Boston, where one should be eating seafood. And I sent him to a place. I said, listen, this place is great. It's called Neptune Oyster.
Ooh.
And he said, and it's just a little place. You got to get there early. You got to get in line. You do that. I found it in one of my magazines, the foodie magazines, years ago. And I went there, and it's so good. I had a lobster roll that made me teary with joy.
Wow. That says something right there.
I said, what are we going to do, though, with your wife? And he goes, oh, there's something on the menu for her. I looked it up today. There's nothing on the menu
there's
for
no
her.
chicken tenders
there
and
are
mac
no
and
chicken
cheese,
tenders.
right?
There's nothing. There's like a $79 steak, so she's not getting that.
You
They
know,
won't go there, but it was great.
I think I told you, one of the dudes, and I forget his name, one of the guys that was on the Spain listener trip with me didn't like seafood.
Oof.
And that's all we were having.
Yeah. What did he do?
Actually, you know what? Well, you ate something else.
Yeah. Oh. You gotta.
I think it
give
might have
a
been
shot,
that might have been the
people.
Greece trip, but still, somebody on one of those trips like, nope, no seafood. And mainly the
God,
dining
no.
courses were seafood.
Oh boy, even Fred's come around
a little bit.
Yeah. By the way, it's you wanted me to bring this up. It's Maureen McCormick's birthday today.
Here's why I wanted to bring this up, because we all love the Brady Bunch, I think, and I'm speaking for Fred and I mainly.
No, we do.
But when I saw that, so I don't even know, it was Eric Alper, one of the guys that I follow. He posted the birthdays of the day, and what shocked me, and this is what I think will shock a good portion of the audience that's in the same age group, is that Marsha.
I guess, but every time Marsha turns around, they hand her a blue ribbon or something.
Oh, now, Jan, you know that isn't so. Marsha's worked very hard for those things.
Well, all I hear all day long at school is how great Marsha is at this, or how wonderful Marsha did that. Marsha.
Maureen McCormick is 70 years old. She is 70 years old, Marsha is today.
That just freaked me out.
I know, well, so that's why I
that.
wanted to include it, because I'm like, oh my gosh.
On this day in history, 112 years ago, in 1914, the first electric lights were installed. Now, there'll be a quiz next year, because I go to this every year. Do you remember, Fred, where the first electric traffic lights were installed in 1914? What city?
Chicago.
No,
I was
Mark.
actually going to say Chicago, too. New York City.
Cleveland.
Oh, Cleveland, of course. Why wouldn't we think of that?
And 69 years ago today, I wanted a little music, so we got this. 69 years ago, it was 1950. Oh, we don't.
Well, I don't know.
I sent
You
it to
gotta-
Ethan,
you gotta tell me.
and then I forgot to send it to
I don't
Daniel.
think we have it.
Oh, man. All right. Anyway, It
Good
was.
recovery.
What was
That'll
it going
be the
to
day.
be?
That'll be the day. Would you
Oh,
say? I
yeah.
do like Buddy Holly.
Yeah, that's
And-
not in here.
Yeah, well, great, because neither is the rest of the sound that I pulled that was going to be so great.
If it makes you feel any better, I sent about 10 things to Ethan before I remembered that he was off today. So.
Well, but it occurred to you at the end.
Yes.
Yes, well. This one is not happy, but it was 64 years ago today in 1962 when Marilyn Monroe's housekeeper discovered her in the bedroom of her L.A. home. Her death was ruled a possible suicide from an overdose of barbiturates. Very sad. 64 years ago today.
It's just unbelievable how many big stars like that have died that way. I mean, look,
Yes.
Michael Jackson, Prince, not all the exact same circumstances, but it's tragically sad, but
Yes.
amazing how the most popular people, Elvis, all of those people, the most popular cultural icons have died in weird ways.
Somebody put up like a timeline of Elvis and just photos, and he was a beautiful individual. I mean, early he was so thin and good looking and fabulous, and boy, by the time you got to the drugs, woof,
it was rough.
It was not good. Now, if you will, in your mind, please hear the song when I say this. 43 years ago today, in 1983, Risky Business was released starring Tom Cruise and his tighty whities. Dun, 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 dun. Bob Seger. Are we all hearing it? Okay,
Yep,
good.
old-time rock and roll.
Yes.
By the way, watch that movie within the last 3 years again. One of my
Holds
favorite
up?
movies of all time. Holds up completely.
good to know.
If you've never seen Risky Business, watch Risky Business. It's outstanding. And it's, by the way, it's not that long. It's like a 90-minute movie.
Oh, I didn't even remember that. We all know that Mark uses Tidal, but here is an interesting fact today. Spotify has hit 300 million premium subscribers. Now, that's the paid kind. Like Mike uses it, but he's just got the free version where you have to hear commercials all the time.
I have the pay one, too. I
Yeah,
use Tidal
the
mainly,
pay one.
but I do have Spotify because, it's a long story.
You have both?
Yeah, I have both.
Oh, okay. Okay, you know how they were predicting that the SpaceX rocket was going to slam into the moon?
Yeah.
It did. Apparently nobody nobody actually observed it, but a telescope in Chile spotted what astronomers have identified as debris in a plume resulting from the actual crash. And space tracking experts say it was inevitable that the leftover rocket segment was going to plow into the moon. So maybe we will hear more about it in the upcoming days.
That's
That's
sort of
interesting.
It's sort of like having a Ring doorbell on the moon.
Yeah, right.
You can actually
Kinda.
see the impact.
But like,
You're right.
is this a good thing or a bad thing, or is it like irrelevant? It doesn't really
that's
affect
actually
anything.
A good question. I don't think it affects anything. They say that it's inevitable, but it should not do anything.
it created a new small crater.
Yeah.
yeah.
I can't. Maybe we'll hear more. Carrie Underwood. We were just talking about this yesterday, but she's going to perform the show open for Sunday Night Football for the 14th straight season. I can't believe it's been 14.
I can't either. That is
know,
shocking to me.
That
you
is
said that.
crazy.
It's
And
so good,
she does such a great job with that.
She does.
She's hard on the eyes, though. I just got to tell you. And she needs a better trainer, especially
Yeah,
for those legs.
yeah,
she
that's-
needs to work on some sculpting.
Carrie says, quote, "This year's show opened Welcome Sunday Night Football into my ongoing rock star fever dream." And Sunday Night Football kicks off September 13th on NBC and Peacock. And finally, in Sue's News, we have today's random fact. GEICO stands for Government Employee Insurance Company. It was founded in 1936 to provide auto insurance and for federal government employees. But it's always been a private corporation, not a government agency, so anybody could use it.
There you
No
go.
idea.
Sue's News on a Wednesday in the books.
I'm Dan Loney with Your Money Now. Shares of Flutter Entertainment, the parent company of FanDuel, were down more than 11% today. The company announced a slashing of its U.S. profit guidance and the departure of CEO Peter Jackson at the end of the current quarter. Earnings per share missed at 49 cents, but revenue posted a slight beat at $4.33 billion. FanDuel has been losing market share in the U.S. in the last year. Many Americans cite rising food costs as the top barrier to economic mobility, according to a new report from McKinsey and the Kellogg Foundation. That report shows that 90% of respondents felt that way, even over housing and health care. Mixed results on Wall Street, but another record close for the Dow Industrials for the third straight session. The Dow picked up 263 points, ending the day at 54,349. The Nasdaq lost 221 points. S&P 500 off by 13. West Texas crude down slightly at $75 a barrel. That's your money now.
Texting enrolls you in a recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
The team's looking good this season.
I think so. Man, I miss playing football. Ever since I turned 40, I just can't find that fire I used to have.
Think it could be lower testosterone?
What do you mean?
I was feeling the same way. After 40, the body has less testosterone, and men lose their edge. That's why I take Nugenix Total T2.
That's the testosterone booster, right?
Yes, but Total T2 is their brand new formula that skyrockets nitric oxide levels in as little as 3 hours. Since I started taking it, I've been lifting like when we played for Coach Carter. My energy is way up, and it even spiced up things between me and the missus.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles?
Yep, just send a text.
Text SPARK to 215-215 for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T2, the next generation testosterone booster. Text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, our newest, most powerful fat burner ever, absolutely free. Text SPARK to 215-215. That's SPARK to 215-215. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
One of the things I've recommended over the years is if you go to bannerconstruction.com, at the top of the page, just like any other website, you have choices, right? It says Home, About Us, Showcase, James Hardy Siding, Remodeling, Blog, then the phone number's up there as well. If you click on Showcase, it's right up there at the top. You're going to see homes in Chesterfield, in Baldwin, in O'Fallon, in Creve Coeur, in Webster Groves, in Frontenac that have been transformed with the help of a great design team at Banner Construction and some great products like James Hardy Fiber Cement Siding. You'll have a plain, vinyl siding that will be transformed. I always point this one house in the city of St. Louis. I'd love to know where this is because it looks like it would be in Wildwood. You have a color that is called Country Lane Red, and then it's offset with some musket brown soffit and fascia. It looks fantastic. Again, it looks like it would be sitting out in a very rural community, but it's a unique look in the city of St. Louis, and they can do that for you. They have a great team that can tie all these things together with great products, not only the James Hardy 5% siding, but Pella replacement windows as well. Get on the horn today for your free in-home design consultation. One thing you should know, and I think you probably would realize it, these are big projects, so you need planning. You need a lot of planning. Banner's there for you. 569-1050. BannerConstruction.com and have a banner day.
Listen up. If you have not paid self-employment, business, or individual taxes in years, the IRS will find you. Hi, this is Lance Story with the Lance Story Law Firm. I offer real solutions. If you have unfiled returns, unpaid taxes, levies, or liens, call me, Lance Story, today and let me get between you and the IRS. I'll protect your rights, including your right to appeal or even your right to take the IRS to tax court. At the Lance Story Law Firm, our practice is focused 100% on fighting the IRS. Remember, IRS problems are legal problems, and they need to be handled by an expert attorney who's done it for decades. So call the Lance Story Law Firm today. We're local. Our office is right here in St. Louis. Call 314-260-6120 or visit LanceDruryLaw.com to schedule your free consultation with your local tax resolution law firm.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
4:33. This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly, heating, air conditioning, electrical, and plumbing.
From Collinsville to Chesterfield, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Oh my God, Sue, seriously, I'm going to need some counseling after today because I keep making the mistake of looking at my responses on the X Twitter about Amendment 5, and it's just unreal what people are saying and how they think taxes were going to be raised and tripled and doubled. And look, this is on the Republicans and Governor Kehoe for not marketing this thing better. I get that, but I am shocked by how many people, and these are a lot of people that are on my side, usually, but they're making these claims. One guy, I'll read some of this here a little bit later. One guy saying, would raise our taxes to 25% sales tax. There's not even a state in the country that has anything close to that. Like maybe 11.5%. Now, some of that does depend on special business districts, but there's who would think? See, some of this, all you got to do is think, okay? And I know that's hard for a lot of people, but When you don't have one state in the nation that has anywhere close to 25%, how can you make a claim that that's going to happen in Missouri with a supermajority? And then some guy brings up the tax increase on gas, which, by the way, I supported. You know why? Because it's a user tax. And people from Illinois and Michigan and Wisconsin and Iowa and Indiana and Arkansas and Kansas, they all pay it. Okay? We're not the only ones paying it. It's a user tax. I would say raise it higher because it's a user tax. But, there's no thinking through the issues that way, which is unfortunate and sad. One of the big stories last night, if not one of the biggest here in the St. Louis area, was the victory by Steve Ehlmann in St. Charles County over Bill Eigel and Jason Law. And we had Steve on for a short time last night. I want to thank him for doing that. He's with us this afternoon. Congratulations
Congrats, Steve.
on another victory. How are you, Steve?
Thank you, Mark and Sue. How is everything in the loo?
I think it's
Things are
okay.
great out in St. Charles.
Yeah, we're settling down here. We're trying to do a little autopsy on what happened both locally and nationally. But a lot of people, and you know me, I was a fan of yours and I wanted you to win, but there were a lot of people predicting that Bill Eigel was going to win this. And it really, in the end, Steve, wasn't close, was it?
No, I was unsure up until a few weeks ago, and I started feeling more and more confident, but I never dreamed we would that I would win by this margin. And of course, very appreciative and very thankful for the good weather. We had a great turnout. I think I may have told you before that 2 years ago, during the primary and election season, there were 92,000 people in St. Charles County who voted for Mike Keogh in November that did not bother to vote in the Republican primary. So this time around, I think a lot of it is because of the interest in this race, but also because of the amendments. We had twice as many people turn out, and they had 40% instead of a 20%. And boy, I tell you, the board people that vote, I think the more legitimate the results.
Yeah, no, I think you're probably right about that, and I think the amendments did drive a lot of interest at my polling place. I know I saw more people maybe than a primary. There was some theory that we were tossing around last night, and David Barklage pointed this out, that maybe in St. Charles County in particular, there was a fair amount of crossover where you had Democrats that were pulling Republican ballots to vote in the executive race. Do you see evidence of that?
Well, I definitely know a lot of those 92,000 people that voted Republican in November showed up and voted yesterday. I'm sure there were some Democrats, a lot of independents. You never know exactly how many there are. I think the final toll was 60% of the people in the county took a Republican ballot and 40% took a Democrat. So that's not far off on what we usually have, but I think there was some of that for sure.
So how do you obviously you've had this job for a long time. You were not going to run again. You got back into the race when Bill Eigel declared that he was a candidate. So I don't know, mentally, I'm not saying you were checked out, but you kind of were resigned to the fact that you were going to leave this position at a certain point. But do you want to describe the feelings that you had when you knew or you felt like you had to stay in this race and run again?
Well, a couple of weeks after the last election, I got rid of all my signs. I mean, I definitely was not planning on running again, and it wasn't because I didn't love my job, and I'm very thankful if the people will give me a chance after the November election to serve 4 more years. I love the job. I just hated the way Republican politics had become. Yeah. This is only the second primary that I've ever been involved in, and the first one was the first year I ran, and Ronald Reagan was still president. And of course, he had the 11th commandment that you don't say anything negative about your other Republicans.
Well, that's
and
changed.
I can tell you, I found out this year that commandment is pretty much gone.
No, that one's been gone for a long time, unfortunately. What is your reaction as a Republican, and as a county executive in one of the biggest counties in Missouri, to what happened with Amendment 4 and Amendment 5? I mean, Steve, those amendments just got demolished, and they got demolished in large part because Republicans voted against them.
I agree with exactly what you said before I came on. Yeah, it just was poorly written. I'm not sure who was writing it or what they were thinking when they did, but everybody would love to cut their income tax, but then to leave it wide open as to what's going to replace it, and in fact that the voters wouldn't have a chance to vote on it. I mean, that's just asking for a no vote, I think.
Well, I think in the end that is what happened. And on Amendment 4, I just think Amendment 4 just gets confusing to people. And, in the end, I've admitted this. I ended up voting against Amendment 4 because I thought it was just too convoluted. But it's interesting.
Mark, you were probably still up in Milwaukee or somewhere, but I'm old enough to remember the Hancock Amendment.
Well, no, I was here with that because I came here in 1979. The Hancock Amendment was 1980, right?
Yeah. And we didn't. It certainly didn't pass in Kansas City and St. Louis, but it passed everywhere else and got a majority statewide. And it was exactly the same kind of situation. The Republicans wanted the Democrats who controlled Jeff City to put some sort of break on property taxes like they had in California, and they wouldn't do it, so they had to go to an initiative petition. And if they would have had to get all 8 congressional districts to approve Hancock Amendment, it wouldn't have been approved.
Well, and I guess I would take a stand. I understand the purpose of what the proponents of 4. I don't know who they were because nobody really campaigned for it. I understand what the legislature has been talking about the last few years. It makes my eyes glaze over. And I've thought for a long time, because I've been in Missouri, I was in Milwaukee for a while, but I remember the 1980s and the Hancock Amendment. And I remember a lot of initiative petitions that I thought probably shouldn't have been on a ballot and passed. So I get making it a little harder because of the outside money to change the Constitution. But at this point, I mean, don't you have to say the voters have spoken and that issue has to go away? That's another thing that frustrates people is once we, have our say, especially so definitively on a ballot issue, that then the legislature goes in and tries to maybe undo it. And people don't like that, Steve. I think you know that, right?
Hey, marijuana and gambling, on sports and all those things, they shouldn't be in our Constitution. They should be in the statute. And
yes,
if
exactly.
it's not working out, you can amend the statute any year, any session. But a lot of these things have happened because the legislature has refused to deal with it.
Well, they have no political courage. They don't have courage.
I don't know what's going to happen with with these machines, these voting machines. But if the legislature doesn't do anything, we'll probably end up putting that in the Constitution too, or at least somebody will try. So if the legislature would do their job, and the Constitution would be used to basically lay out basic principles that could then be refined by legislative enactment, that's the way it was intended to work, and it just hasn't been working.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I think, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, this whole issue kind of goes away, and they look at it maybe from that perspective. Again, congratulations on the victory. Congratulate Kevin Killeen for still having a job. We were worried about him since he's a former colleague. But Steve, thanks for coming on with me this afternoon. I appreciate it.
Okay, we're gonna keep Kevin around for at least 4 more years. Okay.
All right, take care.
Good day.
All right, we'll
Bye,
see you.
Steve.
Yes, okay. I think a lot of people might know Kevin's name. It's funny because I remember listening to KMOX in the 1980s when I was either in journalism school or just out in my my first jobs, and we wanted to be like KMOX, like when I was in Columbia. And Kevin Killeen was one of those voices, man, that I would hear all the time. He was a bulldog of a reporter for decades at KMOX. And then a few years ago, he kind of surprisingly retired from broadcast media, went to work for Steve Ehlmann in a communications role. And Kevin's just a great guy. And the downside of having Kevin in that role with Steve is we lost a bulldog reporter, someone who was never afraid to ask important questions of the mayor, of the county executive, of the police chief. I'm not saying that doesn't exist at all, but he had that reputation. He was really good at it. And, that's good local journalism that, is kind of fading away, unfortunately.
Yes.
All right. Hey, we got another seminar with the team from the Retirement Advisor Group next Tuesday. I'm going to fill you in with Bob Kershaw next.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Southbound 141 is jammed headed for Romaine Creek. We've got southbound 270 with slow pockets. This is essentially 6440 down through Doherty Ferry. Then you get a break and slow with moderate volume between 44 and 21. Now westbound 64 It's Kings Highway out through McCausland. Eastbound is slowing, approaching 170 through Big Bend. Out west, we've got road work with a lane down, and it's slowing Lake St. Louis Boulevard out through the 70 split. 70 is not bad out of downtown, but slow pockets anywhere from Lindbergh to an accident past 94, and 370 road work past 141, causing a delay there. On the Illinois side, we're fine on the bridges. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Mark Cox here. Join me for breakfast Friday, September 11th from 5 to 9 a.m. at Chicken Ellie's in Eureka. We're raising funds for Focus Marines Foundation. Proceeds go straight to supporting our veterans. Learn more at 971talk.com/events.
I want you to make an appointment, guys, at Game Day Men's Health. They have awesome locations that are run by my friend Matt Lawrence in Chesterfield and O'Fallon, Missouri. And Game Day really is something that's different compared to other clinics like it. They're competitors and everything, right? But they call it the Game Day difference because you have a situation where it's a man cave environment. You have top-notch medical professionals. They have their own pharmacy. They have pricing that's very streamlined. And they like to call it a men's health clinic built for every journey. And you may be someone looking for a boost of energy, like with TRT, testosterone replacement therapy. Of course you've heard about that, right? Is that something you might be interested in? Well, they have injections. They have pellets that are slow release that kind of go underneath your skin. They're implants. They have other, ways to boost testosterone as well. And they have options for you in a bunch of different areas as well, whether it's peptides and vitamins, medical weight loss, GLP-1s, hair loss, sexual wellness, and ED. A lot of different options for you. You take advantage of the 1-hour free visit. They do blood work. They come back with results. And then you come up with a game plan with Game Day Men's Health. Check them out today. Book an appointment at GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Again, Chesterfield, right off 6440, Alvin Clarkson, and then Matt has the clinic in O'Fallon as well. Game Day Men's Health.
I want to talk to you about Greg Hammonds at GregHammonds.com. There are 3 good reasons you should talk with Greg. 1, your health insurance premium is too high. Well, Greg saves most people 30 to 60% on their monthly premiums. 2, your deductible is too high. Well, with most of Greg's plans, you will have no deductible or out-of-pocket expenses. 3, your doctor doesn't take your plan. Well, you can use Greg's plan at most any doctor or hospital in the country. If you pay for your own health insurance, you're uninsured, you're on COBRA, or your employer coverage is just too expensive. Call Greg, an expert with over 40 years' experience, at 314-794-7784. That's 314-794-7784. Or go to GregHammonds.com. That's GregHammonds.com. Greg will customize a plan chosen and managed by you, not the government. Because you don't know what you don't know about your health insurance coverage.
Want to make the most of your tax refund? File with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They help you get your biggest refund, and then we help you do more with it. With a personalized plan designed to help you hit your money goals. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Well, my friend Duane Patterson coming up after the top of the hour. We're going to crunch on some politics, including what happened in Michigan last night with El Sayed, perhaps the gift that we'll keep on giving to Republicans, even though we didn't get that same, dynamic here with Wesley Bell and Cori Bush. Wesley winning that pretty much, hands down, which I guess in a way renews hope and faith that people aren't as crazy as maybe we think they are. But Cori Bush still got like 52,000 votes in the city of St. Louis, so that's quite shocking as well. Dennis Hancock will be the Republican nominee for St. Louis County Executive. He's going to join me at 5:32. Jake Zimmerman pulls the upset last night. Well, maybe not. I think in the end he ended up being the favorite over Brian Williams. One of the things that happened in that race is, and I don't think I addressed this earlier, although I'm not sure it would have made a difference in the end, is that Brian Williams is African-American. Senator Williams is African-American, right? And there was another African-American candidate that got into the race, Angela Mosley, who did it because she don't like Brian Williams, and she drew African-American votes away from him. Looking at the numbers, I'm not sure. Well, you'll never know, right? But her getting into the race and Brian choosing to run his own campaign and not trusting experts, which is baffling to me. And if you're listening, Senator, I'd really like to know what the thought process was there, because I supported him. I thought he would be a better choice, certainly for the Democrats. And it's just confusing what happened. And look, I said this at the beginning of the show. You have several political careers that were pretty much ended last night. Unfortunately, my friend Steve Butts went down to Gina Mitten. Steve's retiring. He's probably better off being out of that craziness in Jeff City. Cori Bush, let's face it, she's done. All right, put the nail in her coffin. Senator Williams, he term limited out. I don't know that there's a path for him after this disaster. And then Bill Eigel. I mean, what is Bill Eigel going to run for again? So that's 4 political careers ended in this primary. We'll talk about that a little bit more in the 5 o'clock hour. Hey, Bob Kershaw is here from the Retirement Advisory Group. We got a seminar coming up we got to talk about. Hello, Bob. Thanks for swinging by. How are you?
Good, Mark. Thanks for having me.
All right, here we are. Is this number 4 of 5 of the year? We do 5 seminars. I think we're on number 4 already, aren't we?
We are on number 4.
It's really crazy
because
the
year's flying by.
The year is flying by. Now, we've seen, even in the last week, we've seen some interesting things with, maybe some announcements from the Fed that brought the market down, then it shoots back up. But tell the folks listening right now why we'd love to see them on Tuesday night. It's a free event. All we need to know is that you're coming to save a spot. But obviously, we know the market's rocking and rolling right now. One of the things that you guys like to talk about is locking in those gains from the market right now,
That's
right?
That's exactly right, Mark. Yeah, we talk about a lot how, you can't, when you're young, you can afford the volatility. You can afford the ups and downs and the back and forth. But as you get near retirement or already there, you can't afford the downs because you don't have enough time to gain that back. It could completely change your whole retirement. So what we're going to educate people on Tuesday is what the other strategies are, like linking to the market, so you can still get growth, but you don't have to risk your principal doing it. When you're near retirement or already there, it's time to start looking at safety also, because that's going to be key to that perfect retirement that everybody wants.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons we talk about that key age of 59 and a half, where you can do some things. You can take the 401k,
Absolutely.
You can save some money that way in taxes, and then kind of see where you are. And what you want folks to do is come on Tuesday night or come straight into the office, and you'll give them a plan and really lay out what
Absolutely.
their retirement will look like.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people that don't realize when you're 59 and a half, you can roll over your current 401k, 403b. You can do a tax-free rollover on it. You can still leave it open, still keep putting money into it, and hopefully getting matched by your employer.
Right.
But then at least you have the majority of your savings safe. And then, obviously, any age you can do a IRA or a 401k or 403b from a previous company.
So on Tuesday, we just asked people to go to the website or to call the office and just say, hey, we'd like a spot for the event on Tuesday night, right?
That's it, yes. Yep.
It is at the Doubletree by Hilton Chesterfield off of Swingley Ridge Road. We used to do these at Plaza Frontenac. We've moved a little further west. Mark and Annie and I, as you know, will be there. We do a little meeting and greeting. I get there as soon as I can after the show. And then what happens after that, Bob? Just tell folks what they might expect if they show up on Tuesday.
So Tuesday, well, as you said, you guys just do a small meet and greet, and me and Tammy just talk for about 45 minutes tops on the different strategies. Everybody comes and enjoys themselves and learns something. We make sure that you're out of there by 7:30 because we know everybody's probably coming right from work and they want to get home. So we keep it short and sweet.
Yeah, it's not a big time commitment. That's something I know that you guys pride yourself on. Is there something that happens at these, or a reaction that you get even when people come into the office where maybe there's a light bulb moment or something like
Always.
that?
So most of the people that we talk to that come to these, the number one thing that they'd never really even thought about, they've actually, a lot of them have heard of it, but have never done it, that are even near retirement or already in it. They've never had a personalized income plan put in place. And they're like, wow, we have never done that. Well, we do that for everybody free of charge. And what that shows everybody's the two major things that everybody wants to know. How long is how much money am I going to have, and how long is it going to last? And when you're near retirement, that's something you need to have put in place. You need to know, okay, during my retirement years, I'm going to have this amount of money coming in, and the goal is hopefully live off the interest only and to never outlive your assets.
I think a lot of people, I'm sure you experience this and you have over the years, a lot of people are just intimidated by the process, right? Don't you think? And
people just don't know.
It's human nature, too, to kind of say, that's way off in the distant future, until it's not.
Until it's not, and that's what you run into. And then before you know it, that retirement age is right around the corner. And I mean, think about it. What if you were to retire and it's another market like 2008? you're probably not going to.
You're going to be working at the QT with me.
So
I think.
So I mean, and that's what people have to think about, the people that retired during the .com crash compared to the people that retired in 2002. That's a whole different situation. So you want to not have to worry about that. When you have your money safe, you can ride those ups and downs because it doesn't make a difference. You know that you have your retirement ready. So,
all right, so let's get people signed up. What do they need to do? Just go to
you can go online
retirementkey.com.
to retirementkey.com or call in to 314-993-9494.
Get registered. We will save a spot for you. I always like to say, too, if you can't make it on Tuesday night, we'll have one more of these in the fall. But in lieu of that, you can always make an appointment. Just go one-on-one into the office.
Absolutely, always.
All right, I will see you on Tuesday night.
Thanks, Mark. Look forward to it.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, we've got a pretty good commute going, but if you're leaving downtown, some moderate volume past the airport on westbound 70, and it's really slow right at 94, and then it opens up, slows again at K. What is jammed is westbound 370 approaching 141 tonight, and that's all due to road work. Now, we do have some volume westbound 64, and that lines up Kings Highway out through McCausland. Eastbound is slow, kind of on either side of 170, and it's slow on southbound 170, headed for 40. Out west, there's a jam. It's all due to road work, but it's westbound Lake St. Louis Boulevard out through the 70 split. Southbound 270, moderate volume in pockets, but it does go from Manchester down through 21, and northbound is slowing at Olive. 55 actually looks pretty good. It's a little slow south of M in the construction zone there. We're fine on the bridges, but 64 eastbound on the Illinois side, slowing just east of 157, and westbound 5570 slow due to road work, 255 to 111. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
We got Duane Patterson coming up. We are going to kind of revisit. I did talk about this in the first hour, the El Sayed victory, and it took till this morning for them to do that. But we'll have, for them to call the race, rather. When I went to bed last night, they had not done that. And he only won by 15,000 votes. I mean, that is a very small margin when the polling said it was going to be much different than that. I mean, we're looking at 8 to 11 points on the polling, and they could not call this. I mean, look, there was a theory. John and I were talking about this last night. I mean, are the establishment Democrats going to make sure – I'm not a big stolen election person. Are they going to make sure that Haley Stevens wins? Well, they couldn't do it. And El Sayed might be the gift to Republicans that they need for the midterms. We'll talk about it with Duane coming up here on 97.1 FM Talk right after Fox News.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
ZipRecruiter. Men, if you're suffering from erectile dysfunction or PE, you're not alone. Most importantly, you don't have to live with it. Paramount Men's Medical Center restores men's sex lives in just one visit. Their painless breakthrough treatments eliminate ED and PE, even when Viagra and Cialis don't work. Here's Dr. Simovitz, specialist in men's health.
Paramount Men's Medical Center's painless breakthrough treatments eliminate ED and PE, regardless of age or medical history. 98% of patients see instant results right in the office.
Men are now lasting longer than they ever imagined. And the best part, at Paramount Men's Medical Center, your consultation and first treatment are free. Qualified patients even get their testosterone checked free. Call 314-887-4333. 314-887-4333. Take control of your sex life. Call now. 314-887-4333.
To have a roof over your head, a nice roof over your head, is very important.
That's Rick talking about his experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago, and they're very cooperative on getting us the right paint. They're in and out and done in no time. Once it was finished, looked great. We were very happy with it.
The main reason Rick called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by a 25-year transferable warranty.
We've watched a lot of people get their house painted 3 or 4 times, and we haven't had to do any of it. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to have to paint it every 5-7 years.
Take a tip from Rick and put down the paintbrush and call Rhino Shield for your free evaluation. 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO. Or visit 877-25rhino.com.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago. Financially makes sense, especially if it's going to last like this did. Still looks great.
Call now. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com.
Don't paint, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-777-7777.
That's 314-777-7777.
It's close. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. That's what negotiators are saying about a deal between the U.S. and Iran on reopening the Strait of Hormuz.
Iran continues to insist that there are no direct talks underway with the U.S. They do say, however, that they are negotiating with Oman and the International Monetary Fund, really talking about what a hit Iran's economy is taking from the war and from the U.S. blockade. They estimate Iran's current level of inflation at near 70%.
Fox's Steve Harrigan in Tel Aviv. President Trump said earlier a deal could be announced soon. This says new tensions have emerged in the region as the Israeli military issued evacuation warnings for some people living in southern Lebanon. The president now in the swing state of Nevada touting his record on the economy.
Last month, inflation dropped at the fastest rate it's dropped in many years.
The president taking credit for jobs created in Nevada, saying 40,000 were created, and he said 100,000 people in the state are now on off food stamps. He claimed more Americans are working in the U.S. now than any point in history. Fire crews in Washington state making progress against wildfires that have broken out in and around Spokane.
The Old Trails fire broke out Saturday afternoon. Fire crews have been working to build containment lines, and not just the Old Trails fire, but the 2 others burning here, and they're making some good progress. We got 5% containment with the Fairview fire in Autumn Lane. The most active wildfire is burning at 5,800 acres. It's also 13% contained.
Fox's Sarah Allegre in Spokane. 67,000 people have been forced from their homes, and authorities say it's not clear when they'll be allowed back. A suspect in the Old Trails fire, Aaron Farinacci, is being held on $1 million bail. Wall Street, another record for the Dow, up 263 points. The Nasdaq minus 221. The S&P lost 12. The price of Brent crude oil, the international standard, was little changed at about $79 a barrel. America is listening to Fox News.
When I hit my 50s, I felt like things were slowing down.
This is Sandra's Metamucil story.
I started taking Metamucil for digestion, but had no idea it would impact so much more. Not only did Metamucil help me feel more regular, but my heart health saw the benefits too.
Metamucil. One simple routine, 4 health benefits. Digestive health starts here. Go to Metamucil.com for more details.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I'm grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ethos.com/term. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
We've had a couple of quiet days, but we're back into a typical summertime unsettled weather pattern. Cloudy skies dominate this evening and overnight with scattered showers and thunderstorms around. The focus really late tonight, 72. Thursday, partly sunny and scattered showers and thunderstorms, 85. Scattered showers and thunderstorms Thursday night and still into Friday. Friday, 88, but the weekend is dry. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
I've been kind of challenged on the X, formerly Twitter, today, just with responses on Amendment 5. And the level of misunderstanding, which is one of the reasons it got smoked yesterday, is just kind of stunning. So, like, one guy, I just want to give you an example here, and Duane Patterson is going to jump on with us here in a minute. We're going to talk about Michigan and some of the other things. But somebody says to me, I would like to eliminate income tax, but not a 25% sales tax rate. First of all, that was never going to happen. Not even close to that. There's not even a state in the country that has a sales tax rate of local and state combined that's in excess of 11.5%, 12%. Okay, so that's just ridiculous. So then someone says the entire problem is that the Pro-5 argument made no sense. Quote, we're not going to raise taxes on anything, but we're not going to cut the funds either. Plus, you'll be making more money because you won't pay income tax, and we're going to gain new jobs because they can pay you less now. Well, that's ridiculous because they were going to cut spending. There's little triggers that are in this thing that were very specific to what would happen. Again, it was ill-conceived, so in the end, it doesn't matter. It's been moot. But so this guy who's a retiree, and this is where I think people might even be more confused. He says you would have a little more money on your paycheck. True. Taxes on sales and services would go up and would cost more than what most pay in income tax. I'm retired and I pay no state income tax. I would be voting just to raise sales taxes on myself like many retired people. My response to BP Blue Eyes was, you didn't have any money in a 401k or an IRA? I guess he didn't save enough money for retirement because that's not smart. If you did, you're paying Missouri income tax, okay? I promise you. And a little more. Now, I do okay. I'm just going to tell you. But my household Missouri income tax is going to probably land at about $12,000 or $13,000 this year. All right? And there is no way you can convince me that any sales tax increase would exceed anywhere near that. It wouldn't exceed $3,000. It likely wouldn't exceed $2,000. So for those of you who are paying $3,000, $4,000, look at your W-2. Look at your paycheck. Look how much you paid in income tax. Think about whether you'd like to write a check for that amount at the end of the year. Or do you think it'd be okay that if you get a haircut that you don't pay taxes on right now, that you pay 25% or 20 cents more, 25 cents more, right? That's where this was sold in a very poor way by Republicans because they didn't explain that to people, and everyone had conjured up in their mind that, oh my God, taxes on everything are going up. Like the one realtor that I, made a bet with, somebody posted the cost of a $300,000 house is going to be $43,000 more with sales tax. Stop it. That's just ridiculous. That's why I bet that woman $43,000 that would never happen.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, here's something I'm seeing on the feed, too. I'm retired. How would that benefit me?
If you're retired, you are still likely paying Missouri income tax. If you're not, if you're just getting pensions and Social Security, well, then you would be paying more in sales taxes on some things. But most people who are retired are still paying state income tax. So make sure, before you make a comment like that, make sure you know what you're talking about. For those of you who are Missouri income tax free, well, then you would probably have to pay a little bit more in taxes. I don't know what to say, but for economic growth and moving the state forward, is that worth it? I guess not, right? I mean, it's not going away. Believe me, we're going to have continued conversations about this. Duane Patterson with HotAir.com, host of the Duane's World podcast. I'm genuinely curious, before we get into the national stuff, what your viewpoint would be from the left coast on Missouri choosing very forcefully to keep their income tax. Like, this thing failed so badly last night, Duane, like 3-1, almost 4-1.
Well, first of all, hello, Mark. Hello, Sue. And hello to all you straight-up racists in the greater listenership that did not vote for Cory Bush.
I know. They are racist. You're right.
Straight-up racist, yes. So let's
even though the other guy was black, too, but you're still racist if you didn't. Yeah, it doesn't matter. No, I know.
Because white Democrats voted for Wesley Bell. He's got proximity to whiteness.
Exactly.
We're using the language of Francesca Hong now.
Thank you.
So on the issue, I heard your setup to this. Here's what I think about this. The messaging on how you sell this matters immensely, obviously. And I don't see much of a difference in how this was sold or not sold very well compared to nationally how the Republicans need to sell all the growing indicators that are going on with the economy.
Well, I think you're right about that. Yeah.
And I think we're missing the opportunity to be able to not just say socialists and commies bad, which they are, you have to have a positive message. And manufacturing is going through the roof. People's take-home income is, on average, $3,000 more than it was last year. Inflation has come down. All sorts of things are happening good. It's not perfect yet because of the Iran war, but the economic indicators for the next year or two, if we don't muck it up by putting a bunch of crazy people in power, we're going to do really well. But we've got to do the messaging better, and we're just not doing it. And I think that was the problem with the income tax in Missouri. I was just looking real quick. You guys do somewhere in the order of 12.9, maybe 13, as much as economic impact of $21.4 billion of tourism every year. Do you not?
I'm going to have to accept those numbers. People that voted against this act like we don't get any tourism. I guess they forget about Kansas City, St. Louis, and Branson. Yeah, we get a lot of tourism.
$21 billion of tourism.
Right.
Now, if $21 billion had, 25, or not 25%, what was it? What was the number going to be? 4% higher? 5% higher?
Maybe 5%. No, it would go from, it would depend, first of all, on the triggers, but it would go from whatever it is right now to nothing.
So how do you so to your retired person that says, how does this affect me? Well, what it's doing is it's spreading the cost of police and fire and roads and everything else in the state. It is spreading that cost now to everybody that helps use it, which includes people visiting the state.
Well, yeah, exactly. The other problem with this is I think people are assuming that, well, this is what happened here at least, that everything on the planet was going to get taxed when that wasn't going to happen, even though the governor kind of made that clear. So the scare tactics work because in the back of people's minds, they really thought it was a tax increase. And that's what I'm hearing from people today on social media. But let's talk about our friend El Sayed. Okay, here he is in Michigan.
My hope is that our democracy will never be the same. So when Big Pharma and Big Tech, when DTE and Blue Cross come a knocking saying, you know what, this is our democracy and we're going to own it, from here on out, we can always point and say, no, this is the people's democracy, and we will always own it.
Now, I guess I don't even know how to properly pronounce his name. He tried to teach us that last night.
They think that you want to use my whole name against me. Mike, listen, man, if you can't say the name, it's Abdurrahman, keep the name out your damn mouth.
Duane, I'm going to say I can't say the name because I don't even know what he just said right there.
You know what I want you to do? Close your eyes, play that cut again, and tell me, listen to the cadence. Listen to the rhetoric and tell me who he's channeling. Tell me who he's trying to impersonate.
They think that you want to use my whole name against me. Mike, listen, man, if you can't say the name, it's Abdurrahman, keep the name out your damn mouth.
Well, to me, he sounds like Hassan Piker quite a bit.
Well, there's some of that. But
Mamdani, Hassan Piker.
In the lead up right before that clip, if your guys can go back and cut it at some point, in the 30 seconds leading up to that, it's Barack Obama. It's the same rhetoric. It's the same cadence. He's trying to
that I
channel.
believe. Yeah.
He's trying to channel sounding like Barack Obama, like New Hope.
Right.
Is what he's trying to sell.
So we talked about this a little bit earlier and I think you're right about that. And, Obama had the Reverend Wright in his background, and the Reverend Wright was just awful. So people like me and you and Hugh Hewitt and Rush Limbaugh, we tried to highlight that, right? But the legacy media didn't want to go down that path. But he was able to distance himself from that. So along those lines, two things. I think a lot of us thought, man, a dude named Barack Hussein Obama is not going to win to be president of this country. Well, we were off by a lot on that. So my question would be a couple of fold here. Should we be careful here to not underestimate Mr. El Sayed in Michigan? So that would be one question. And, what do Republicans do to respond to this so they can get back on the proper messaging?
And both are reasonable questions. Number one, no, you never want to underestimate your opponent. That's stupid to do in politics is to underestimate. I think he is supremely beatable, and why I don't think he is going to be this year's Barack Obama and swamp everything is because Barack Obama got 94% of the black vote in 2008 and similar numbers in 2012. If you look at where his strong points were and where his weak points were, Haley Stevens cleaned up in the black districts in Detroit.
No, this is important because
he's not selling to a lot of people outside of the college-age class and the Dearborn radicals. That's really where, and he underperformed everywhere.
Very much so.
The only place he ran up the score is in Ann Arbor and in Dearborn, right?
Yeah, and where those are the Arab Muslim strongholds, right? This is important for you to make this point. And I got to give credit to CNN because there was someone on CNN last night when I got home from the coverage. They were making this point as well, that he underperformed. Look, this race, if it was 9 points or 10 or 11 points, he beats Haley Stevens like the polls were predicting. Well, that's a different game, right? Now you're looking at this as Mike Rogers might be in trouble. And again, I'm not underestimating. I'm not saying this thing is over, but because he underperformed in those areas, I think that gives Rogers a lot better, starting point from the get-go. But again, this guy is going to be a chameleon. He's going to try to change his stripes and run away from this stuff. And you know as well as I do that the media is going to help him. They helped Mamdani. They're going to help him do this in Michigan.
I think the bloom is already coming off the rose. In his presser today when he did his victory lap, what did he say? He said, look, to the people out there that are worried about how I'm going to do with the Jewish community, I want you to know, I'm paraphrasing. He said, some of my best friends are Jews. He basically said, I want to break bread at Seder with Jews.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know if you know much about the whole Judaic religion and what they do on Seder, but they don't break bread. It's unleavened. They have to tear it. He doesn't have the first concept of what he's talking about when it comes to that, and I don't think anybody believes him. If you can name me one Republican in Michigan that is going to see Mike Rogers as a nominee and say, well, that tears it, I'm going to go vote for El Sayed. That person does not exist. Do you think that there is a handful of people that specifically did not vote for El Sayed this time because they think he's a whack job and they wanted Haley Stevens instead because she's progressive, but at least she's not insanely stupid. And now that Sayed is the nominee, do you think that every available Democrat is going to come home, or are some going to sit on their hands?
I think a lot of them are going to sit on their hands. But here's the other thing to not underestimate is the Trump derangement syndrome, because that's what they're counting on, I think. But, yeah, you're going to have – and some of this, I think I heard this discussed last night. Look, Trump, maybe Joe Rogan played a big role in this. He got younger people motivated and interested. A lot of that was economic focused. Well, if you look at the polling now, he's lost a lot of the shine on that. And that's where these DSA candidates are really connecting with young people. Now, he's not a DSA guy, but he is just as radical and he's dangerous. But I don't see young people coming out for him the way that they did for Mamdani or some of these other candidates. So that's really maybe going to be the determining factor.
And let me add one last layer on that before if you want to move on. But the one last layer is, why did Donald Trump win in Michigan in 2024? What was the key constituency group of the Democrats that he broke and took? It was the labor. It was the labor unions.
Oh yeah, well that's right.
He split the union vote. And are the unions unhappy with Donald Trump now after the tariffs and after manufacturing boom and after a bunch of workers have all sorts of really good paying jobs?
No,
now
they are not.
Things?
No, they are not.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
They still like Donald Trump an awful lot, don't they? Do you think that they want to say, yeah, but not Mamdani, El Sayed is the guy that we want now? The unions aren't going to go for him.
No, they won't. By the way, here's John Fetterman on all this.
He was really arrogant in that race. And now he have just found out that, less than a majority of Democrats want him.
Why is he the only guy saying things like this?
I mean, he has like a little man syndrome kind of energy. Yeah, well, I can't come together with someone if you are willing to embrace people that loves Hamas or that thinks America deserved 9/11. I think that's reasonable.
Yeah, and that person he's talking about is Hassan Piker.
Take nuke for you, okay? You are all unbelievably Islamophobic pieces of okay? You literally called the dude a terrorist.
So that is Hassan Piker addressing moderate Democrats, like people who voted for Haley Stevens. So that's not exactly how you bring people over to your candidate, right? Insulting them, saying they're a bunch of idiots because they didn't vote for Sayed.
That is not going to – and again, you said that El Sayed's going to have to now trip all over himself to moderate for the general election. guys like Hassan Piker are not going to allow him to moderate, and I don't think he thinks he has to. The fun part about today that got lost in everything with El Sayed, did you see what happened in New York today with Comrade Mamdani?
I don't think I did today.
I bet this happened while you were on the air. He was supposed to be given a speech today out in, somewhere across Hell's Half Acre up in New York, and he takes the stage to deliver a speech. And they literally
they booed
him off the stage.
Yes, I did see a quick clip of this during a break.
Booed him off the stage. On my Radio Blogger X account, I've got the video of him getting booed off the stage, and I'm thinking, if you're his comms team, you're saying they're not booing. That's Hassan Piker's crowd out there, and they're just saying Jews, and my work here is finished.
Wow. Yeah, well, that is kind of an interesting thing that happened in this Michigan race.
I think we're at a tipping point now, and you're right. We still have to bore down, and we have to have a good message, and we have to have a reason to vote for us all across the board, up and down the ticket. But that said, the country outside of college-age enclaves and bubbles around the country, this is not selling in Missouri. There's a reason Cori Bush didn't even get 30%.
No, she got blown out.
She got hammered.
Right. And a lot of us thought that was going to be closer. Really, we did. Duane Patterson, awesome to have you on. We're going to have a lot of fun here in the next few months talking about Michigan, that's for sure. All right, we'll see you. Take care.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We do have some showers moving through the area. They're pretty light, but I'm looking at the camera here at 6440 at Mason, and there are wet roadways. So, of course, it depends on where you are, but do take it easy. Now, westbound 370 is lined up, headed for 141 due to road work. 70 westbound, some moderate volume past the airport out through 94. And 6440 is heavier. It's Kings Highway out through McCausland, Lindbergh out through 270. Eastbound is slowing at Timberlake Manor and also at Lindbergh and again at Big Bend. And then westbound picks up again out at Prospect. Now, we do have a slow go on northbound 270, kind of on either side of 40, even all the way up through Olive. And southbound, just slow pockets from Olive to just south of 44. A jam on the Illinois side, Route 3 at Monsanto Avenue. And we look good on the bridges downtown. But 64 eastbound is slow approaching 159. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Let's have a little fun with a flooring project at Michael's Flooring Outlet. And I say fun because it really can be fun. You're changing the look of a room or maybe several rooms in your home, and it can be exciting. You know you're going to make some selections that are going to be there for a while. Why not do it with a team like they have at Michael's Flooring Outlet that has a ton of experience, an unlimited amount of products, and really the technology that fits into your lifestyle? Waterproof, pet-proof, easy to clean, the most advanced technologies in flooring and everything else except for a cell phone signal by the zoo on Highway 6440. We can't seem to solve that. But everything else has been really changed by advances in technology. And the same is true with flooring. And one of the things that I learned with Michael's a couple of years ago when we did a project is you can do these things on a budget and you'd be blown away the quality, the great looks that you can have. You can test some of this out by going on to igotfloor.com, click on the Inspiration tab at the top, and then there's a tab, like a sub-tab that says Visualize Your Room. You've probably seen this, at Sherwin-Williams or some of the paint stores. They do this as well. You can upload a picture of your master bedroom, your living room, your basement, your guest bedroom, whatever you're going to do, and look at different products, kind of compare and contrast. I think it's easier to go in one-on-one to the store, talk to the experts, take some samples home, but you can choose that. Michael's Flooring Outlet, 3 great locations, Old Town St. Peters, Darden Prairie, and in West County and Creve Coeur. igotfloor.com is the website.
If you're considering an annuity as part of your retirement plan, we need to talk. Hi, I'm Bob Stockdale, Senior Vice President Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money, Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Annuities can be a useful tool tool for some retirement investors, but not all annuities are created equal. Every week, we meet clients who own complex annuities that don't suit their needs and, in some cases, actively undermine their retirement plan. Before you purchase an annuity, get a second opinion from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Requesting a consultation is free of charge. To request a free consultation, contact us at clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member NYSE and SIPC.
One of the biggest gifts you can give your family is peace of mind. That's why I trust and recommend Civia Law. They've helped so many families, including mine, right here in our community with estate planning, wills, trusts, powers of attorney, and elder law issues. I've seen how stressful it can be when a loved one passes without a plan. Families are left confused, sometimes tied up in probate court, and it can cost so much in time and money. But with Civia Law, you don't have to worry about that. They'll walk you through everything and even deliver your completed documents in just 2 weeks from your first appointment. And here's something special just for you. Mention the Annie Fry Show, and the first 10 listeners right now will get a free strategy session. That's a $300 value. 833-995-WILL. Just be sure to mention the Annie Fry Show when you call. Civia Law has 7 convenient locations across Illinois and Missouri, including in Edwardsville, Swansea, and Creve Coeur. Secure your legacy and protect the people you love. Call 833-995-WILL. That's 833-995-WILL, or visit civialaw.com.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
You know, we kicked this off last week, and I haven't mentioned it enough, and I want to guide people into an amazing listener trip that I kicked off with my friend Mike Kenny from Defined Destinations. Mike and I have known each other for, I guess, maybe about 15, 16 years. He used to work for a company in Wisconsin called Holiday Vacations, and when I was at WTMJ in Milwaukee, I took many trips with Holiday Vacations, and we did cruises, went to New York City a couple of times with listeners, went to Europe, went to Hawaii, did some of that here when I was on KMOX as well. I kind of took a break from it because, not to sound too elitist, but I had been to much of Western Europe, been to Alaska a couple of times, was looking for something new. So Mike broke off from Holiday Vacations, and he started his own company, Defined Destinations. He lives outside of the Minneapolis area. And it's a smaller travel company, but what impressed me about Mike to begin with is we took a trip to Italy and went to Florence and Rome and Verona. By the way, if you ever go to Italy, Verona is awesome. And what stood out was Mike Kenny himself. He's a great tour guide, and he puts these trips together in a way that are just magical. And he makes it more fun because he's so good at what he does. We have local guides, you know, that we have as well. But May 25th through June 5th, we're going to Croatia. And this is going to be a 12-day trip through these historic cities, national parks. The waters of the Adriatic are just beautiful. We start with 3 nights on land, 2 nights in Zagreb, 1 night near the Plitvice Lakes National Park, which is beautiful. And you have these turquoise lakes and cascading waterfalls. I remember when Mike was in Croatia maybe 4 years ago. It was after the pandemic. He was posting some of the pictures from what I just described. They were breathtaking. So it was always at the top of my list. And I'll kind of walk you through the process. So a couple years ago, 3 years ago, I said, hey, Mike, let's go to Spain. We went to Spain, took listeners there. Last year, Greece was at the top of my list. Let's go to Greece. We went to Greece. This year, he actually tried to pitch me on Ireland. I really want to go to Ireland, but I kind of think I can do Ireland on my own, right? And I want to do it that way. And not that it would be bad to have listeners come along with me. It would be fun. But with this is a ship that we're going to take. It's essentially like a yacht. And it's total 36 guests total. So that's 34 because Becky and I are 2 of those. Mike and probably a guest. So that means like 32. That's 16 couples we need to sign up. This will sell out. I have all the confidence because it's an amazing ship. And the way to find out more about this, a couple of different ways. Go to defineddestinations.com, or maybe easier than that, if you go to my Twitter site, at Mark Reardon KFTK, or just Google Mark Reardon on X or Twitter. At the top of the Twitter page, you'll see a link to the details of the trip. I've pinned it at the top of my Twitter page. So the first day we fly to Croatia, and then we get right down on the ground with Zagreb and Dubrovnik, and then we start going on the ship in a couple of days, and that's where you really start tooling around and seeing some of these amazing sites. If you go to definedestinations.com or you click on the link on my Twitter page, you'll see some of the breathtaking scenes. And I will say, and Sue, you probably know this too, I've never had anyone say negative reviews about Croatia. Anyone who's been there says, oh my God, it's great. I have a nephew who's been there. It's like one of his favorite places.
Yeah.
So get signed up for this. If you have any questions, you can always email me. Mike's email is on the website. So if you go to his website at definedestinations.com, or again, you can link to this on my Twitter site. He's very, communicative. He may even be, I think he's out of the country this week, but it doesn't matter. He'll get back to you. So any questions you have, ask me, ask Mike. This is going to be an amazing 12-day trip, May 25th through June 5th. The best of Croatia. Come on board.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got some rain in the area. Take it easy. 6440 was getting some rain. We've got slow pockets on westbound 40. Approaching Kings Highway, just rain slowed out through 270. And then again on either side of Clarkson, and then it jams. Lake St. Louis Boulevard out through the 70 split. 70 westbound, some moderate volume past the airport. 370 slows at 141 due to road work. 270 pretty busy in both directions at Ladue Road. And on the Illinois side, we're fine on the bridges. But southbound traffic on Route 3 really jams at Monsanto Avenue. And eastbound 64 is slow approaching 159. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
I got a notification here this afternoon that my power went out and then it was back on, so that's good. But let's talk about Generator Supercenter of St. Louis, because it doesn't always work that way. Sometimes when the power goes out, I would say most of the times when the power goes out, it does not come right back on, and then you're left with this terrible feeling, is my food going to spoil? How hot or cold, depending on the season, is my home going to get? Why did I not listen to Mark Reardon and make a call to Generator Supercenter of St. Louis? Because if you do that, they're going to explain to you how you can get a free estimate on a Generac home standby generator from Generator Supercenter. They're the nation's #1 Generac generator dealer. These are high-quality generators. One of the things that I always like to emphasize is there are competitors out there, some electricians, some HVAC people, nothing against them, but they sell generators, but they cannot maintain and monitor and do the certified maintenance work and the warranty work. A lot of competitors just won't offer that, or they can't offer that. That's exactly the opposite with Generator Supercenter of St. Louis. So if you want a free estimate, low monthly payment plans are available. Get with them or swing by the showroom in Chesterfield. The phone number, 314-499-2020. The website, GeneratorSupercenterofSt.Louis.com.
It is the season for enjoying that backyard, and there's no better way to do it than with my friends at Chesterfield Fence and Deck. Mark Cox here. For the month of August, they will give you 20% off the bottom line when you mention my name as you reach out to Chesterfield Fence and Deck. Listen, they've been at this since 1968, owned and operated by the same family all of those years, and it makes a difference. And if you look at the beautiful creations they have in their showroom in the Chesterfield Valley, you'll see what I'm talking about. The sunrooms, the screen rooms, the pergolas, the all-season rooms they can put together for you are just fantastic. Now, they do fences and decks as well, of course. And the fences and decks are great because, of course, these days you can get that Vecadec vinyl, which is just maintenance-free and makes your life so much easier. Reach out to them today. Tell them you heard Mark Cox bragging about them. It's ChesterfieldFence.com.
When it comes to family law, a lot has changed in recent years, so assumptions can be costly. If you see or sense a change coming in your family life that could have legal implications, it's important to know where you stand. Getting good legal advice early is never a bad idea. I'm Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell. If you or anyone you know is facing a family law issue, start with a consultation. Visit CordellCordell.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. 600 Kelwood, St. Louis.
You've been listening to the very popular Wellness One for many years, Saturdays and Sundays on 97.1 FM Talk. We're happy to share that we've expanded the show to 4 times a week. Yes, 4 times every weekend. Saturday at 10 a.m., Saturday at 8 p.m., Sunday at 9 a.m., and Sunday at 2 p.m. It's the same great show designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you a common sense, science-based strategy for a healthy life. So join TJ and Aaron for Wellness One. Now 4 times a week on 97.1 FM Talk.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly, heating, air conditioning, electrical, and plumbing.
Hey, where you going? The party just started. We're celebrating America 250 all year long on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative. Sponsored by Paramount Men's Medical Center.
Audio cut of the day coming up here before the end of the hour. Let me see what Fred has set up for tomorrow. I know we have the Reardon Roundtable set. Greg Keller and Ed Rohde will be here on Friday. We had a great visit earlier this afternoon. You can use the Odyssey Rewind function. Go back to the 3 o'clock hour. David Barklage, GOP political strategist, who was on with us a couple of times last night, broke down a lot of what happened with the ballot issues and the state legislature and the races. And then Josh Kraushaar was on a 97.1 Talk FM Talk political insider, the editor-in-chief of the Jewish Insider. Josh is awesome. I've known him for a long time. And he broke down the El Sayed race really, really well. We talked about Corey losing to Wesley as well. That was all in the 3 o'clock hour. We had the couple interesting races. Steve Ehlmann was on earlier. He was the winner in the St. Charles County executive race. I think most of us, the so-called experts, expected that to be a little closer, and it wasn't. Bill Eigel probably has ended his political career. On the Democrat side, it was Jake Zimmerman, who won big over Brian Williams. A lot of people, and I said this earlier, people 3 months ago were saying Brian Williams will be the next county executive. It was so definitive. And then he ran a terrible campaign, and somehow Jake Zimmerman pulled out a victory. Dennis Hancock will be the Republican candidate for St. Louis County Council in November. He used to be my councilman in the Fenton area. He was also the mayor of Fenton way back when. Dennis is with us this afternoon. How are you this afternoon? You didn't really have much to worry about last night, so that had to be a good feeling.
It was pretty much of a nail biter, Mark. You know, my wife and I voted a week ago, and I felt pretty good about my chances after that.
This is always a question that I'm not sure I get honest answers from politicians, but I'll try it anyway. I mean, in your mind, did it matter who you square off with, Jake or Brian Williams? Because what some folks will say is, look, that, you know, facing Jake Zimmerman might be better than a young, real good-looking African-American in St. Louis County, which is leaning a little more to the left. So did it matter who you face?
It really didn't, Mark. You mentioned I've been a mayor for 12 years. I've been on the county council now for 4. I've got a record of achievement that I'm pretty proud of, and I think that my record would compare favorably to either of them.
Well, I don't disagree with that at all, but here's my whole thing with this. And you know I like you. I've known you for a long time. I think you'd be a great county executive. But I've also been very close to this process over the last 15 years. I was in the war room with Bill Corrigan when he almost won as a Republican. I was in the war room with Rick Stream when he almost won. And these were close races. It looked like a Republican could pop through in St. Louis County, but it hasn't been the pattern. So how do you think a Republican like you can win in St. Louis County, where the math kind of tells you differently when it comes to the makeup of Democrats versus Republicans?
No, and you're absolutely right. If you look at a generic Republican versus generic Democrat, the generic Republican loses every time because there just aren't enough of us. So what we have to do is appeal to the Democrats. And 2 years ago, when I started thinking about this, I mapped out a strategy that I thought was a winning strategy. First part was coalesce all the Republicans behind whoever the Republican candidate is. Avoid a primary at all cost. And we did that.
Yep, that's big. That's important. And by the way, for listeners, that is not to be underestimated, because you can really spend a lot of time, resources, money where you can save that for the general, and that's the position you're in.
Right. And then, the next step was to have at least 2 and hopefully 3 Democrats in a primary where they would just beat the snot out of each other. And they did that.
Right.
And so now there are 51% of the Democrats in St. Louis County who did not vote for Jake Zimmerman yesterday. And I've already started reaching out to the ones that I know and have heard back from several that they're going to support me in the general. And so if we can continue to build on that, it's not going to take a huge number. Sam Page won with 52% about 4 years ago.
So what are you going to make this race about? What do you want this race to be about?
I want this race to be about competence. I want it to be about people feeling safe in their homes and public safety. And I want it to just be about, getting back to the business of government, fixing potholes, plowing the streets in the wintertime, picking up trash, those sorts of things that we seem to have lost sight of over the last couple of administrations.
You know, I think what I know about you, and this is one of the things that I felt maybe with Brian Williams, Dennis, just being honest, I thought Brian was someone who really did want to focus on the issues in the county and didn't want to do this whole nonsense like Sam Page does, where he likes to draw attention to himself, and Lisa Clancy does this on the council with the national issues. I think people in St. Louis County, they want, the county executive to run government efficiently. So like you said, they can have the basic services. And I'm not, sensing that anyone really wants that position to be someone who's taking a stand on Israel or any of these other issues. And you know that, and I think that's how you would run the job. So with Jake, that's where I see a window, because smart guy, right? He's been in elected office for a long time, but seems to be more leaning into the progressives and making those issues part of his campaign when they may not even apply to St. Louis County. Now, I bring that up because we have another amendment that people are going to vote on. That's Amendment 3, and it's another abortion issue. That is going to drive a lot of turnout for the Democrats. Doesn't that work to your disadvantage?
Well, it could, and but it also is going to bring out a lot of all the
that's right.
Republicans
That's right.
out. And so I think that the people of St. Louis County are smart enough to separate that issue from their local elected officials. And if they can do that, and we can convince them to do that, then I think I think we have a real chance of doing this. The thing that most politicians forget is you don't need 100% of the vote. You only need 50% plus one.
Well, and you're facing the guy who is responsible for assessing people on their property taxes, right? And their personal property tax. There's got to be a window there, because if there's anything that angers people, I mean, obviously we learned a pretty hard lesson last night on income taxes, but most of the responses that I see on Amendment 5, people say, wait, let's look at our property taxes. That's where things have gotten out of control.
Well, exactly. And Jake is the guy that everybody gets a letter from every 2 years telling you how much more valuable your home is and how much more valuable your property is. And, I'm the guy that put the senior tax freeze in place to help our seniors stay in their homes. That's 80,000 homes that are now probably have a good thought about me.
What would you say, Dennis, about the fiscal situation of St. Louis County? Because there's some challenges, right? And, I don't know what the answers are. Sam Page has some proposals, and certainly the lefty members of the council. But what would you say about the future of the fiscal situation and how you would address that?
Mark, if you remember back in 2009 when Chrysler shut down, that represented about 15% of the revenue for the city of Fenton. We came through that without raising taxes. We looked at everything we were spending money on, and I mean, these were weeks of meetings, going through every line in the budget, and what were we spending money on, and what did we have to spend money on, and what was nice to have. And we were able to separate the nice to haves from the have to haves. And by doing that, we solved our problem without raising taxes and without implementing any new taxes. So it can be done. And I think that that's one of the things that probably has been frustrating for me on the council is we haven't gone far enough with that. We've nibbled around the edges at it, but we haven't really taken a deep dive into it. And I think now is the time to take that deep dive.
Dennis, can you explain, I'll be honest, maybe I should have done more on this, but there was something that was on the ballot for St. Louis County called Prop U, right, which would have allowed the county and, municipalities to get proceeds from online purchases and out-of-state purchases, and the estimate was $70 million annually. That failed yesterday, didn't it?
Right.
Okay.
Did.
So what was your position on that? And now the story today is, from Sam Page, is that we got to look at a property tax increase. That's what he is saying today in the aftermath of Prop U going down. So what would you say to that?
Well, my position on on Proposition U was I'm the only person on the council that voted against putting it on the ballot, just because of the reasons I just said. I don't think we've gone far enough into looking at what are we spending money on and what should we be spending money on. Over the last several years, we've gotten first there was the CARES Act money, and then there's the ARPA funds. And, where did that money all go? And I think a lot of it probably went to new programs that you took one-time money and created new programs, and now we're paying those bills every year, even though we don't have those extra funds to pay for them. So that's I think things like that we need to really be taking a deep dive on.
Here's what Sam Page says today, or a spokesperson says, a $111 increase on the average homeowner would generate $46 million and would put the county in a position to avoid most of the worst possible budget cut outcomes. So they're going to go for property tax increase.
Yeah, and that's where I think we as council have to take a stand and say, no, we're not going to go down that road. Let's get our fiscal house in order, and then we can, let's do everything we can, and then let's try to convince the voters that we've done everything we can. I think that's a big part of why Prop U failed, is because I think people looked at it and go, well, what are you doing to rein in cost? And they didn't really see much, and there hasn't been any. There wasn't any organized campaign, which I thought was interesting. One of the things that Dr. Page talked about today was having an organized campaign paid for by the county. And I guess nobody reminded him that's why he's under indictment.
Here's another bit of confusion. This gets confusing between the city and the county. But have we just kind of pissed away the Rams money, or what's the status of all that with the county?
No, we still have about $130 million of the Rams settlement in an account. We've spent $40 million on subdivision streets in the county, and we've plugged some gaps here and there with the rest of it. We spent $500,000 on the ballot issue last year for Proposition B, and to get that on the ballot. And then, we still have it. And in my view is, why do we need to spend it? Why don't we just hold on to it? You save it for a rainy day fund, and if we find ourselves in a real situation where a tornado comes through and rips out half of the county, maybe we can use it for that.
Well, especially in this stock market, be a good idea to keep it, safe for a little while. Dennis, good luck. I know it's going to be an interesting campaign. Congratulations on your victory last night, I must say. And we'll see where this takes us here in the next few months. I appreciate coming on this afternoon.
Hey, thanks. Anytime, Mark.
All right, take care. Audio cut of the day coming up.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, crews just cleared a stall. It was eastbound 6440 on the ramp to Hampton, and eastbound traffic is fine through there, but westbound is still slow. Kings Highway out through McCausland. Remember, we had a kind of a rain shower that moved through some of the area, and we've got wet roadways there. Then it's some moderate volume at 270, Chesterfield Valley a little bit, and then out at Prospect it jams, and that's due to road work. Eastbound is slowing at the inner belt. But other than that, we look pretty good. Now, northbound 170, moderate volume at Airport Road. Eastbound 70, slowing at 270. But we look fine. If you're headed into Illinois on the bridges downtown, it looks great. But look for a jam southbound Route 3 as you head from Monsanto Avenue. This report brought to you by Point with an E Pest Control. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's Traffic 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon. Guns N' Roses is coming to Busch Stadium on August 16th, and we want to send you. Listen to my show all this week from 3 to 6 for your chance to win. Well, we almost forgot that today, so let's not forget it. How about maybe make it easy on Daniel, who's filling in for Ethan? Call number 3 is a winner. You'll get a pair of tickets to see Guns N' Roses. That show is a week from Sunday. 241-9797. Caller number 3 is a winner, and we thank our friends at Live Nation for the tickets.
Call Point Pest Control, mention Annie, and get 10% off your pest problem. Once summertime hits, ant populations begin to reach peak numbers, maybe even into the millions. Call Point Pest Control before they invade your home. Call Point Pest Control 636-798-0023.
Wow, we're taking really good care of some great charities here at the MAC. The Missouri Athletic Club picks children's charities each year. Books for Newborns is one of them this year. Joshua's Great Things, which helps kids with brain cancer. Missouri Kids Coalition helps kids who have life-altering injuries to get them back on track. Now, and I guess I would say along those lines, there is a book drive that's going to start. Actually, it started August 1st. It's going to go through the end of the month, sponsored by the Charitable Society for Children in partnership with the MAC Book Club. So this is all for Books for Newborns. You can buy books from the Amazon wish list, which is linked on perhaps an email that you got from the MAC, or you can find it on the website as well. Then they're automatically shipped to the MAC. If you purchase all of the 5 books to fill a whole book bag for mothers in need, that would be awesome. So that's a great thing that they're doing. Now, we always do fun stuff, too. And this is something, I've never been to one of these, but this is a very big, popular event on Thursday, October 1st. So it's a couple of months off at the Downtown Clubhouse. The MAC wrestling match returns downtown. And this year, it's going to be a big wrestling legend. Fred, where are you? Mick Foley is going to be there. Now, you're a big wrestling guy from the past, right?
I am, very much so.
Mick Foley is a WWE Hall of Famer, best-selling author, and hardcore legend. He's going to be there on October 1st. You can always find out more at mac-stl.org.
Things in Washington, D.C. may seem unsettled at times by their lack of progress. But one department in the U.S. government is progressing. That is the IRS. Hi, this is Lance Story with the Lance Story Law Firm. The IRS is in full function to collect on unpaid taxes. If you've been putting off a tax problem, it's time to call the Lance Story Law Firm and get it resolved. Don't think the government is too busy to focus on my issues. Too many of my clients thought the same. So if you owe back taxes or haven't filed returns in years, it's time to call the Lance Story Law Firm and finally resolve your tax issues. Remember, if you have tax problems, you have legal problems. Call the Lance Story Law Firm. Our office is right here in St. Louis. Or call 314-260-6120 or visit LanceStoryLaw.com to schedule your free consultation with your local tax resolution law firm, the Lance Story Law Firm.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/radio right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's Best Eggs. They're just so delicious with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
The Mark Reardon Show, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
All right, we're down to the final moments of the post-election show, and I really did have fun last night. My thanks again to Senator Lamping, who joined me. David Barklage, Steve Ehlmann was on last night. Mike Ehlmann. Who am I forgetting? Tim Fitch. We had a lot of contributions during election night coverage, and thanks to all the candidates who were on with us this afternoon. I thought I was going to have Mayor Spencer on this week, Sue. She was confirmed
Did she
for
really?
Friday.
Yeah, no, I didn't know that.
She was confirmed, but they changed that around, so I do want to talk to her. We got to do this here before we get out of here.
Stand by. Playback ready.
Now, the audio cut of the day.
Okay, I've given this Michigan El Sayed dude way too much attention, so I'm going to veer from that in audio cut of the day. I'm going to get away from Amendment 5 and all this stuff in Missouri. I'm going to go to Clay Travis from Outkick, who's offering the WNBA an amazing deal.
If they are going to allow men to play, I think we should have an actual game, not NBA players against WNBA players, high school boys. Let me pick a team. I will put it on pay-per-view. We'll donate all the profits to Tunnel to Towers for Wounded Warriors. If the high school boys win, I will give them $10 million. If the WNBA team wins, I will give them $10 million.
That's pretty good.
It's great.
Yeah, I mean, here's Riley Gaines talking about that offer.
If the WNBA's goal is to become the most inclusive league in the history of ever and to hit a pretty big payday, then they just got the opportunity of a lifetime, thanks to Clay Travis. Introducing the Nashville Balls, the most inclusive team in all of WNBA history. Clay Travis vows to make it a 100% trans team, meaning all players would be men. identifying as women. He tweeted this: I'm prepared to buy a WNBA expansion franchise and locate them in Nashville. I pledge to have a 100% trans team, all men who identify as women. I will also employ a 100% trans coaching staff, most inclusive team in history. But Clay's not just saying it. He's putting his money where his mouth is. He offered the WNBA $10 million for a head-to-head basketball game between the defending WNBA champions, the Las Vegas Aces, and a boys' high school state title team of his choice. If the boys win, he'll give them $10 million to distribute as they see fit to their team members. Game on pay-per-view with all profits donated to Tunnel to Towers to provide mortgage-free homes to families of deceased soldiers, police, and first responders. If the Aces were to beat the boys' team, he would give the WNBA $10 million. And I don't think he's kidding, because he just gave Vanderbilt Law School $10 million. So the WNBA gets to own the title of most inclusive league. They get to showcase their women's ability, and the proceeds go to a good cause. We've heard from virtually every WNBA coach at this point, and the league itself, that inclusivity is in fact the goal. So what say you, WNBA? Just know if you decline the offer, that makes you bigoted transphobes by your own standard. I'm ready to buy my Nashville Balls merch.
Oh my God!
Oh, it would
so
be
that's kind
so
of funny,
great.
and it'll never happen.
Nope.
But look, there's precedent for this. We've had high school soccer team boys beat the women's national team, so there's precedents. Clay knows what he's doing, but this is maybe that's all fun and games, and it'll never happen. But this is really disappointing. This is the coach of the Indiana Fever. That's Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham's coach. Listen to how she answers some of these questions.
What's your stance? What is your stance on men or athletes who test as biological male participating in women's sports? What's your personal stance?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I would say that I'm educated enough from a scientific standpoint. I don't ever believe that exclusion is an answer. I just don't.
Okay, both those things there are just so exclusion. Yeah, because you're a women's sport. So what you're doing is you're excluding men. So if you don't think exclusion should be an option, then let's open up the WNBA to all men and have them compete against the women and see how the women do. So that's just such a cowardly answer from her.
I do think, when we think about various levels of sport, various governing bodies of sport and things that go into that. Like I said, I'm not educated enough at the different levels. I know growing up, I played with the boys all the time.
That's not the point. That's Stephanie White.
Do it now.
Right. She's an embarrassment because she's cowardly. If you, as the head coach of a league that has head coaches wearing Protect Trans Kids and preventing people from simply holding signs that support Sophie Cunningham, if you're not educated on this issue as the head of the Indiana Fever, well, you should be. Okay, you should be supporting your teammates, by the way. And I know that Clay Travis has called Caitlin Clark a coward as well, and I do think there's something to that. I get that they want to focus on basketball. Even Sophie today was talking about basketball, but have a little bit of courage to support sanity.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Eastbound 6440 is slowing 170 through Big Bend, and westbound is lined up approaching Hampton. And then it's slow Lake St. Louis Boulevard out through the 70 split. 70, there was an accident reported westbound just past 370, so a slow go there. And on the Illinois side, 64 eastbound still jams approaching 159, and westbound 5570 is slow. 255 to 111, well, actually to just east of 111, all due to road work. This report brought to you by Lakeside Renovation and Design. For over 25 years, they've been St. Louis's trusted choice for transforming homes inside and out, from windows and siding to kitchens, baths, and outdoor spaces. They give you quality craftsmanship backed by lifetime warranties. Visit lakesiderd.com to start your dream project today. Sue Thomas with traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Well, you have homeowners out there that have equity in their home. They have low mortgage rates, and they need cash. They need cash to fix things up or to take a vacation or to consolidate debt. What do you do when mortgage rates are still kind of hovering over 6%? Well, you go to Stewie at Stewart's American Mortgage, because he's going to offer you a great opportunity. Two opportunities. One, if you're someone who is going to purchase a home and you'd like to get off the sidelines, he's still offering a 1% discount in your rate for for the first year. So on a 30-year loan, you get the 1% discount rate and the bagel loan, no closing costs. If you go from an FHA to a conventional on a refi, he can offer you the 1% discount as well. So 30-year mortgage, interest rate lowered by 1% plus the bagel loan. On the refi, if you go from FHA to conventional, 1% discount plus no appraisal fees, no closing costs, no title fees, no broker fees. Awesome opportunity right now with Stewie. We give you a cell phone, too, 314-324-4440. If you need quick closes, you need some cash, you need a new mortgage to buy a home, he's got you covered. Google the bagel loan or call or text 314-324-4440. NMLS number 226715.
When you're hurt in a rideshare accident, whether you're the driver or the passenger,